Smith has some room. No, brought down nicely. Ball down, and that's Urlacher with it. Down to the 50. He's got to beat the quarterback. Hesitates, and he's going to go all the way.
This is 365 Sports.
It's outside the 35-yard line. Peterson, the freshman, cutting back. He's going to get there. First touchdown of his career, Adrian Peterson.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Barner is back deep again for the Ducks, and this is a beautiful punt. Back to the 50 and running backwards, loose, free ball, touchdown, LSU. Matthew picks it up and runs in, and LSU strikes.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Favre rolling and throwing under pressure, and it's intercepted. Dion, he may score right away. It is Sanders for the touchdown.
365 Sports is turbocharged by Unite Private Networks. Find out more at uniteprivatenetworks.com.
White darts up the middle. Head White in the open field. Head White to the house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
It is the eve of the Final Four men's basketball down south of where we are, San Antonio, Texas, and we will hear a comment or two from Duke head coach John Shire. Of course, they have Houston in the late game tomorrow night, the women Final Four tonight. We'll get into a lot of that, and A&M continues their search for the men's basketball coach. David Smoak with Paul Catalina. That's a really pretty background right there with the colors that we have with Oakwell, and then, of course, the ads that we have right there in the middle, 365 Sports. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, I'm David Smoak. We appreciate your time. So this story was earlier today, and I had to kind of take a double take that major University of California donors in a standoff with the school over Berkeley's football team. Now, we have discussed whether or not how much interest there is. There's a history in Cal. They've had some really, really good players go on to play in the NFL. But they want to at least, or appear to, they want to hold back their NIL money almost as hostage, it appears, based on this story by Gabe Fernandez, so that they get Ron Rivera, who runs their program, moving forward.
Yeah, he's already there, correct? I mean,
Yep.
he's already the GM, but they want him to have more sweeping power and influence. This is pretty interesting. I'm sure this happens behind closed doors sometimes. The only thing I can compare it to in my memory is when North Texas was building their new stadium and Daryl Dickey was kind of on the outs. The guy who was paying for the new stadium was a big Daryl Dickey fan and kind of made some demands on that regard. I'm not completely clear on the history. A North Texas person would have to fill in the blanks for me, but it was they were not happy about the way he was being treated, this particular donor. But if this is a whole collective saying hey, you don't get any football money until Ron Rivera's in charge, I'm not sure that's the best way to handle things. And not to say that Ron Rivera wouldn't do a great job at that, but still, that's just kind of a bizarre way to do it. But maybe Cal's athletic department needs an extreme circumstance to push them into this.
I mean, the first thing I thought is you want to flex your power and risk the whole booster-university relationship over Ron Rivera. This is the guy that you're like, we're not giving you any more money unless the great Ron Rivera gets to make all our football decisions. Can you at least lay your life down for, Bill Belichick I would get. At least flash some rings and you go, North Carolina, you'd say, okay, yeah, you want Bill Belichick in charge. Ron Rivera? I don't know. I think that's the funny part to me when I read that headline was that's what all the fuss is about, but I think it's a dangerous precedent. But if anybody were to do that, it would be Cal, I feel like. I mean, just as far as universities go, I feel like the one that perhaps there's others out there that would fit that bill, but the one that would be most likely to perhaps cave a little to booster demands more so than a Tennessee would or a Georgia would be probably somebody like Cal. And even then they might not do it. I don't know. I don't know how big of a story this really is. It's interesting because it's definitely something unique. But again, I couldn't get past the Ron Rivera part. And then the fact that if you think this is a good idea, I mean, look, when we've seen high-profile firings that are controversial or things happen that people don't agree with and they pull their booster money or whatever. But I don't think that we've seen it too often where they go, you do this or else. And I think if there's a band of people that are doing that, that is really dangerous news for Cal athletics because you're losing one way or the other. You're either giving up your money or you're losing, you're giving up control or you're losing some money. So it's a weird spot that they're in. Maybe there's a middle ground they can meet on. I do understand the frustration of boosters, though. I don't want to put it all on, them as being the bad guy here. I don't think there's a bad guy. But I do think the way it's at least headlined and phrased, it makes it look like they're a little bit crazy, right? Which is probably not the case. They're probably just wanting what's best for, they feel, the football program and to have some other people have some say. So, it's an interesting headline, but, a bit of a predicament there for the Cal
Ron
AD.
Rivera's a legend there. He is. He's in the Athletics Hall of Fame, won a Super Bowl with the Bears, was multi-awarded as a player at Cal. And again, it's not the name that comes off the tip of your tongue when you think about college great players, whatever.
You have to understand that Cal's looking at it as this is their great player. I'm looking at this is the guy I watched coach the Commanders for years. This is the guy who I watched in the NFL most recently for the last several years. I've not been watching him in college football. I wasn't old enough to watch him at Cal.
Well, that's why I wanted to clarify that.
So I get that there's a connection there, but I don't know what they want him to be their Andrew Luck. That's the whole point of it, and I get that. That's what it is.
For the first time since 2011, there's a growing anxiety among Cal fans about the future of their program that stems directly from what Andrew Luck is doing at Stanford.
There you go.
Ding, ding, ding. There you go. Andrew Luck's been there for a cup of coffee. He's made a change.
Which makes it seem like a panic move. What Andrew Luck's doing at Stanford right now is trying to rebuild the entire situation. The fact that he's there isn't. I think Andrew Luck will do a really good job at this. I think that he's built for it. I think that he'll be probably an NFL GM someday. I mean, he's a brilliant, brilliant dude. He comes from a line of really smart business people. His dad is a really, accomplished post-football businessman all over the sports world and beyond. So I'm not saying that, but to react like this while they have an interim coach, to me, is a little bit that's a little bit rash.
All right. The drastic move comes as a rather interesting time in the program's history. The Bears, Golden Bears, have been better in football than the Cardinal in every conceivable way. The 4-year Cal graduates at spring commencement will be the first class since 2006 to experience a total sweep over Stanford in the big game. And then on top of that, they did bring in Rivera in March. John Wilner will join us today, in the late 4 o'clock hour, to give us we kind of pick his brain when it comes to that West Coast to give us a little bit more insight.
So Cal's had more success recently, is what you're saying. So they want to follow the path of the program that's had less success.
No,
so that part doesn't make any sense.
I think from what I gather, and this is a lengthy story by Gabe Fernandez, is that they're a little bit worried that they're going to lose their edge they have now against Stanford, and maybe because Andrew Luck's a big name or whatever. I didn't know, and this is not to be flippant, that Cal was that entrenched in worrying about all that. I mean, Cal's an incredible school. You can look at how they look at things politically, but he's in the Athletics Hall of Fame, so that's it. I don't know if he's going to make the difference or not. You're right, Craig. The last time most people think about him, he took Carolina to a Super Bowl, I think. It was a hell of a player, but that was the 85 Bears, where he was a part of a Super Bowl championship team.
Yeah, because the kids today relate really well to the 85 Bears. I mean, that's all I hear from 20-year-olds. The 85 Bears, man, they were sick.
Well,
they were awesome.
They knew Doug Plank.
Man, you see all the kids
deep cut.
All the kids doing the Super Bowl shuffle, when they score these days. I mean, it's all over the place. The 85 Bears. No, I mean, I'm not trying to be flippant either. It's just some of the things in there. You're like, why are you following the path of the team that you're beating regularly and you're better than? That doesn't make sense. It sounds like a little bit of ooh, They've got a star running football. We want a star of our own running football, and that's probably going to be the case in a lot of places around the country. So, kudos to Cal's boosters for trying to, shake and bake and make something happen and kind of throw their weight around. I do think that boosters deserve, when it's their money especially, to, have some say in the way things go. I just think when you've already got a football coach that's sitting there and all of a sudden you go like, hey, we want this guy to come in and take all of your control and you now answer to him, that's just kind of a weird thing to do when the example that you're comparing it to is, as Paul pointed out, a guy who came in, fired the football coach, and they're now searching and have an interim for the next year. So, yeah, if I was on the coaching staff at Cal, I'd be like, I don't know, that's Justin Wilcox. I'd be like, that's a little strange, but okay. I guess if that's what you guys want, and look, if they're the money makers and the money shakers, then there will probably some middle ground that they can find. But, yeah, just to read kind of out of the blue, at least in this part of the country, that there's this, situation where we're stopping the money flow until Ron Rivera gets all the power. I get that he's a legend. It's just kind of a bizarre read if you're not in that circle in Berkeley, I guess.
Yeah, it's just look, we live in a state. We've talked about A&M, and we're about to talk about them again in a second for the last week about – their like little brother syndrome. If this isn't like little brother syndrome from Cal, where a school that's not been as successful than you has had it really tough from leadership. Like they don't have an AD right now, right? That's why Andrew Luck had to make the decision.
Well, I just said they don't have an AD. They don't have a head football coach.
They don't have a head football coach. They just had to change the president, not because somebody retired. Well, I mean, you can't get a better job than Stanford. So not because that guy retired, he got fired because of plagiarism. So now you have all this like stuff you've never had to deal with at Stanford going on, and Cal is somehow envious. I can't wait to hear from John Wilner on this. Yep. And look, Ron Rivera might do great, and I would honestly rather have this whole thing of my favorite famous alum is the GM than the head football coach. I saw for years, every time Baylor had a head coaching opening, there was just a group of people that wanted Mike Singletary. Yep. And Mike Singletary is not, he's not a pro coach right now. He's not a college coach. He doesn't want to go and recruit. And that's why he never really tried all that hard to get the job. We even asked him about it. He's like, yeah, I talked about it, but you could even hear it in his voice. Mike Singletary is a very straight up and down, honest guy. And he was like, it interested me a little bit, but it was never like, oh, I have to have this job and I was disappointed for it. Like if he really wanted it, he could have gotten it. Yeah. And he didn't really. So
yeah, and I think there is some like devil in the details as well. I mean, part of the frustration was that you've got Rivera, who you've hired, and he's talking to your chancellor, and you got your football coach who's talking to your AD. And so how does that make any sense? So I guess the thought, because like the way it's positioned, at least like a headline wise, is these rogue boosters want to give Ron Rivera all this power. Well, what if they just want him to actually like work with the football coach directly and report to the AD, as opposed to why is he talking to the chancellor? Now that's where I can see where they have an issue with it, and that's part of the story. So you got to delve into it a little bit, but yeah, like on the surface, it looks strange to want all that power to be shifted to Ron Rivera. But if you understand, well, what's the connect? Like, why is he reporting here and this guy's reporting here? And then, like, these two they're not even in the same job.
Ron Rivera's been a coach, right? Why would he accept that role straight to the chancellor? He would, that seemed like that's something, but he's doing that. You're right. That was his role. I never did think that made sense anyway. As the GM of football, he's reporting to the chancellor and not to the athletic director.
Yeah, I don't know about all the minutia of that part of it. I mean, I'm not locked in on Cal football, but yeah, I mean, obviously there are people unhappy with that.
Doesn't matter what program, though. It doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, there might be some unique situations going on that we're not aware of, kind of like I just pointed out the chancellor part of it. So, like, we don't know. We're not in Berkeley and know all these people involved and what could be going on politically. So that's what I'm saying is I'm not going to act like I'm an expert on the nuances of Cal politics is what I'm saying. So there's probably something we're just missing out on, being the other part of the country and not following them on a day-to-day basis that John Wilner can probably fill us in on. But yeah, headline-wise, it's a bit bizarre, and Ron Rivera is not a name that I think I'd say do or die over. But if I was a Cal alum who really grew up watching Ron Rivera and loved him and just ignored all the NFL stuff for the most part as of late when he really ran out of gas and was replaced, and then you see what Washington went and did like immediately after. He's not just the most exciting name for someone like me. Now, for Cal fans, he might be a super exciting name. I can at least understand you want a little bit of cohesion, and Ron Rivera and Justin Wilcox need to be working together to make the Cal football program the best that it can be, not one guy's reporting here, one guy's reporting there.
Right. No, that's absolutely true. Colorado's having their pro day in Boulder. You knew there would be a huge crowd. This is an interesting video. Giants will have the following. These are the following people representing the Giants organization who are at the pro day, with Travis Hunter, Shiloh Sanders, Jimmy Horn, among others. Shiloh, yes, and something on him in just a moment. But that's a pretty thick representation of who is there from the New York Giants. Meanwhile, the Browns have their head coach, the owner, GM, assistant GM, executive vice president, offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, also today, among other teams, but those two with very high picks in the first round are loaded up to be and have been at the pro day in Boulder.
Yeah, the Browns are interesting because in all this quarterback shuffling that's going on, who's the Browns starting quarterback next year?
Some poor soul.
Yeah, exactly. It's not Deshaun Watson. And Deshaun Watson will never play a game in the NFL again.
Yeah, from the geniuses that brought you the Deshaun Watson fully guaranteed contract, now we're going to make their next big move.
So they've got a couple guys on the roster, from a year ago that didn't play much. Jameis Winston is in New York. Russell Wilson went there basically to get the deal he wanted in New York. New York is also probably going to draft a quarterback if they get it at 3.
Where's Kirk Cousins?
Kirk Cousins is in Atlanta backing up right now. I would think that Kirk Cousins to Cleveland makes a whole lot of sense, but Atlanta didn't.
They're gonna pay all that money.
They owe him a bucket load.
Right now, they're fine with it.
Yep.
They've constructed it so that they can. But I think he will be traded during the draft. But if Cleveland say drafts Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. Both things I think would be a great thing for them. Like if you've got Myles Garrett and you put Abdul Carter over there, like you're going to be able to control the pace of some games just on the pass rush. And Travis Hunter is the best overall player in the draft anyway, so you're getting the best player in the draft there. And then you probably trade for Kirk Cousins later and draft somebody like Ewers or Tyler Shuck, who not a big believer in him staying healthy all this time, but I wonder what they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Every time of year, this year, I see the Cleveland Browns at the top of the draft. I just roll my eyes. It's just deja vu. And I know, like 2 years ago, they won 11 games or whatever, and they've had little spurts where they pop up and they're pretty good. But dude, I swear to God, like they've had a permanent place in the top 3 of the draft my entire life. It feels like.
And I think their coach, Kevin Stefanski, is actually pretty good.
Yeah, I do too.
I think that he's got leadership that's just rudderless.
Well, I hope for their sake he is, because I'm tired of watching him at the top of the draft every single year.
Well, I'm sure they're tired of having to pick at the top of the draft.
Well, it's their calling card.
Yeah,
so,
it is.
That and the dog pound, I guess. And their new stadium that they're trying to build, I don't know that I love. Like, I get it, and if I was a season ticket holder, I'd probably love it. Like, I do think the end of outdoor stadiums for football that we're seeing, where like most everybody's going indoors now. Not everybody, but a lot of teams, like that's going to be Cleveland as well. They're going to be going indoors, and that looks beautiful. Like it looks like a really cool stadium. So there's definitely some things going for them. If they land the right player, then they could be right there in the mix. I mean, that's how quickly you can get good as you get the right quarterback. So I don't think they're going to have a choice of Cam Ward. I think even reading some of the guys today, it feels like Tennessee's pretty locked in on him. So, yeah, will they go Shador at 2, or will they go, with a different type of player and wait on quarterback? That's the big mystery now. I don't think there's really mystery at number 1. Do you? No. I mean, I think it's pretty clear it's Cam Ward to the Titans. So, yeah, let the mystery start at number 2 with Cleveland and whether or not they draft Shador, basically. And then that will lead to, well, if they don't, then how long's he waiting? Because he might not wait till the very next pick with the Giants. But if they don't, and then so on and so forth. Where's Travis Hunter fall into this? Because that's really the star of today's pro day, is the Heisman Trophy winner. But, yeah, cool to see Colorado's so intertwined with the major storylines of the draft, with two very high-profile players that are certainly going to be drafted near the top, and providing a little mystery beyond the number one pick are the Buffaloes. So that's cool, and it seems like their pro day was a rousing success from a turnout and a show out and all that standpoint. So, yeah, that's going to be really interesting to see what Cleveland does it too.
By the way, Jimmy Horn ran a 4.4 at the pro day. Now, remember we had Shiloh on. Remember the video we showed of Shiloh and Dion going back and forth and Shiloh wanting proof, video proof that his father ran a 4.2 whatever. And we got into the Picasso and all. It was great. I loved it. We had Shiloh on the show, and we discussed that with him. Father Sanders promised Shiloh a brand new car if he could clock anywhere between 4.40 and 4.49, even if it was 4.49 or whatever. He ran. Do we have the video of that? Go, Shiloh! Yep.
I can tell by
Okay, ran a 4.52. You can turn it down. Thank you. 4.52 and a 4.59, which is that's not gonna help his draft stock. Because he tried. I like the kid.
Well,
we had a great time with him.
4.52 for a safety is good. I mean, that's good.
That looked like it wasn't a 4.4 at the moment. I was like, no, he didn't get that.
God bless him. He did, but that's what he ran. So,
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's cool.
So he didn't get it. He doesn't get the new car. So good for him. He gave it a shot.
I hope he enjoys the ramen noodles and he doesn't have the brand new car. But yeah.
So we have a new. Okay, Paul. Emery said the other day that who's got the Mercedes SUV out front of our building?
The G-Wagon. I don't think it's a lot. It's actually the second one they had because there was a different color one here for a while.
That's nice.
And y'all know the whole car thing with Shiloh to begin with. Like it's kind of weird that you're oblivious to the fact that there's also a story out that he owes lots of monthly payments on a car.
That,
on a Mercedes. So I don't feel too badly because there's a headline literally from this week where he owes over $100,000 in payments on his Mercedes. So. I don't know. I don't really feel too bad when there's that simultaneous headline that he didn't. I mean, maybe he should have ran for the payments of the car. I don't know, but that was out there. And look, I also understand it's draft season, and that's a very polarizing family. So you're going to probably have like things that happen occasionally, where you try to pick on the family, especially when the spotlight's as bright as it is right now. But that wasn't the greatest headline in the world to see. So I think that's where more of the focus should be rather than the sub 4.5 and whether or not he gets another one that he may or may not put payments on.
Grant McCaslin at Texas Tech. Apparently contact, of course, A&M would be dumb not to. This report that he quickly said no to any offers about checking in with A&M. I just sent Chris Level a text and just checked on it from his perspective. I believe that's 100% accurate. Not sure the details or anything, but you'll see a new contract for him sometime very soon.
Look, he would be the first person I would have called over Chris Beard, in my opinion. And maybe I'm a little biased because I like Grant, but he comes with none of the baggage that Chris Beard does. It's not a move made specifically, seemingly, to spite Texas, which is stuff that you should not be doing.
Okay.
But from Grant's perspective, why would you go there? Your alumni have as much money as theirs. Seemingly, right? Like when we're talking about oil billionaires, are we splitting hairs on, which oil billionaires are really the richest oil billionaires?
I think the difference is A&M's probably just got more of them.
Yeah, but
dear God, I'm not going to the chat.
They're a bigger school. I mean, they're not bigger in turn. Like the types of students they bring in, and there's a difference there. I don't think we're saying anything controversial there.
No.
But to the point is they've got a big booster there in Lubbock, along with various others that are, talking about all of the money that they have. So I don't think money's the issue. Yeah. So if money's not the issue, then what reason do you have to go to Texas A&M?
You got a packed arena, a crazy, rabid fan base.
And a school that's been better at basketball for 50 years.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going back Southwest Conference times. Like, I know Tech doesn't
Shelby
have,
Metcalf.
Yeah, I mean, and as funny as he was, I mean, it just
Bro, AC Law was a bad mofo. Like,
Yeah.
he was a bad mofo. A&M's had some good years, but I've never once in my entire life thought like basketball powerhouse in Texas A&M. Not ever once in my entire life.
No.
I've thought that at least with Texas Tech on a couple of occasions where I go like, that's a basketball school. Like, they
Yeah.
are really good in basketball. So, yeah, like, I don't think outside of financially there's really any draw other than if you want to, like, I just want to go to the SEC and, you know, play against the best coaches night in and night out type of thing.
Or you
Other
had
than-
family in the area.
Or you had family in the area, or your great-granddad was an Aggie, whatever.
Here's the stats. You mentioned that A&M has never been to the Elite Eight in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Texas Tech just wrapped up their third trip to the Elite Eight in the last 7 NCAA tournaments.
Oh, he's at a better basketball program.
Yep.
There's
Yeah.
no question about that.
Yep.
Absolutely not. So, like, the only thing that could draw you would be, like, something sentimental or personal. To our knowledge, there's none of that. And there would be then the what do you get out of it? So if the challenge isn't it, then, okay, what can you be given that would lure you? And if you're not really needing any of those things, if you don't need more money or you're not worried about more money, then, or, you know, whatever location, yeah, what reason would you have to take that? So, yeah, I'm not surprised at all by that. If you had asked me, you know, right at the start of A&M opening that job, do you think Grant McCasland would take that job? I would have said no, because it's not a better job.
No, it didn't surprise me at all. Wanted to check in with Chris as well, since he's right there in the middle of it. So, clarifying that.
Yeah, very
Our
interested
good
in what they
friend-
do, though. I mean, now you've said no. Chris Beard said no.
Yeah,
Grant
you're
McCasland
starting to run
said
out of
no.
gas here.
So where do you keep
They'll
looking?
find somebody.
No, of course they will. I mean, they're going to find a coach, but it's just a matter of I'm interested to see now. Okay, who's next on the list?
Maybe
and
they
where do you
go. Maybe they get to one of the guys who's done really well at a mid-major, or somebody that's what they need to do. And sometimes this is what happens. And UT's been through this a few times. Don't pick the biggest bang for your. Don't pick the biggest who's going to win the press conference, or sometimes egos get involved. Pick the right fit. I don't care if the guy's coaching at Sacramento State or Troy. Maybe that is Ross Hodge. I'm not Ross Hodge, but oh my God, I just went blank on the coach who's at Troy, Scott Cross. So, Evan Miyakawa, he's a friend of ours. He went, of course, and got all of his analytical and statistics and all his degree in college. He was today featured in the Wall Street Journal. Remember, he came up with that category, the kill shot, the most devastating weapon in March Madness. He's in San Antonio. I talked to Evan a little bit back and forth earlier this week to try to get him on. He's doing no interviews this week, at least on radio shows or podcasts, because he's presenting an NIL transfer portal model to help programs understand the best buys. And then he also today, just wanted to say congratulations to Evan for getting mentioned for his kill shot, I guess you could say, slogan, or what is that, theme?
No, it's one of the categories, the statistics that he uses.
I know that.
Yeah.
That kill shot.
Well, I'm
That's
trying
what
to help you with the word.
Like a 10-0, 12-0, who has the most or whatever. And the Wall Street Journal featured our good friend Evan Miyakawa.
Yeah, that's awesome for Evan. I have some Texas Tech transfer portal football news in a second. But Evan has done such a great job. And if you subscribe to his site, if you just read it for free, it is in depth. And when you line up, if you watch the first weekend of the tournament, line up what he said before with what's going on, it tracks really well. Like he's got it down. Like his margin of error is very, very small.
Well, he's meeting in front of like a college association of people about what he does to help them maybe get a better read on what's best to get in the transfer portal.
Yeah, and for those that don't follow Evan and know what a kill shot is, it's one of his statistics, as I mentioned, and it's when a team goes on a 10-0 run at any point in the game. That's what a kill shot is. So that's always been a big feature of how teams win games and how teams put away games and things like that. So that's one of his big statistics, 10-0 runs, kill shots, and good to see him getting some publication for that.
I did say the 10-0 run, but you're right. Good to clarify that. Glad you did. Now, another note. The Final Four this weekend, right? Tomorrow, the first game in SEC battle between Auburn and Florida, and then the nightcap between the University of Houston and Duke. Duke head coach Jon Scheyer replaced the legend. You're not supposed to be the guy that replaces the legend, but the one who replaced the legend. He has done a great job there. They are really, really good and thrilled at the opportunity to be in the Final Four, and they get Houston in the opening round.
It goes without being said, but couldn't be more excited to be here at the Final Four. It's a special thing to be playing Houston. We understand what an amazing challenge this game will be. Look, for me, year one when I got the coaching job at Duke, you're trying to figure out who to scrimmage and what you can do. And we sought out scrimmaging Houston. And that was the respect that I had for Coach Sampson, Houston's program, what they stand for. And, to be here competing against them, it's an honor. But couldn't be more proud of our team. We're taking it all in and excited at the same time.
All right, that's Jon Scheyer. Of course, the Cooper flag. Houston with what they have, a team that is just beating people up along the way, including they just knocked Tennessee out, basically all but out in that game over the weekend to get to the Final Four. Also, the note, Broom, saying that he will be ready for Auburn's game against Florida. There was questions about him with his shoulder and much more, the heart and soul of that team. He's good to go. So there we are with the Final Four. And who are your picks tomorrow, Craig and Paul?
I picked Houston, and I picked Florida. I'm sticking to it.
I did too.
Yeah, I'm going Houston, Florida, so that's boring. We're all going the same way. But, just based on what we've seen at this point, that's who I feel strongest about.
So we have that. And now, tonight, the women's basketball in Tampa, the Final Four. You have UConn and South Carolina, and you have Texas and UCLA. And Texas will play South Carolina. Those teams have played before. UT got them once during the season. This is 4 teams. UConn with Paige Beckers, who was named the Player of the Year. And then, of course, UCLA with a bunch of height, and they're really good. South Carolina, the defending champions. We know what Don Staley's done, multiple titles. And UT, for the first time since 2003, they're in the women's Final Four. And Vic Schaefer, who's done well. He was an assistant coach when A&M won a national title with Gary Blair. He was at Mississippi State and now at Texas. And there's the Final Four. They will play tonight in Tampa.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I can't speak too much to it, and you guys can go ahead and make fun of me. Go ahead and get your.
No, but you already had your women's basketball note.
I just thought it was interesting that Flo J. Johnson is going back to LSU.
Yep, LSU star is going to apparently back for another year and skip the WNBA draft. The NIT championship last night, UT Chattanooga beat UC Irvine, and also UCF beat Cincinnati in that college basketball crowd in Vegas. So they're continue in the into the third round of that one that is out in Vegas. We hit everything. We got John Gallagher, Manhattan basketball coach, around the corner for us today.
Let me give you that
the
Texas
Tech football,
the Tech football note. And look, again, this is a crystal ball, but Chris Hummer and Matt Zenitz are usually really good at these things. Tech is predicted to land coveted Stanford edge transfer David Bailey out of the portal. He's the 7 sacks and 5 forced fumbles last year, viewed as an early round prospect. So big news for Tech, and no offense to them, but his school days are about to get a whole lot easier. I mean, no, I'm not knocking Tech. I'm just saying,
dude, it's not. If anybody gets pissed at that, they need to get a life.
Yeah,
there's no comparison. There's not even close to a comparison. That's a fine joke.
Yeah. So, but his school days about to get a lot easier. But there they are in the portal. They've been probably the best, I think, of everybody collectively, of not only identifying prospects but not doing it on potential, doing it on production. This guy had 7 sacks for a bad team last year.
Yeah,
they've really good.
Stanford's had players into the portal.
They've got a wide receiver.
Really
young
Mosley.
and good, yeah.
Yep. By the way, the receiver they had who had the monster game 2 years ago against Colorado, I forgot his name, but he's in the draft. Where is he in the
second round?
Okay,
it'll be a second round.
He had a monster game in that game against Colorado a couple of years ago.
Yeah, somebody's going to get a guy who can go up and get the ball for sure.
All right, when we come back, he's in San Antonio. Manhattan basketball coach John Gallagher. His thoughts about the 2 Final Four games. This is 365 Sports. Please, if you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already, and we do appreciate your time. PettyClinicalOT.com. Dr. Ken Petty can help you become the high-performance man you want to be, need to be, and used to be. How? Well, first of all, do you have the symptoms? 1 out of every 3 to 4 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone, and maybe that's you. Sex drive's not the same. ED is a problem. You're not as energetic. You don't have the same oomph, and you're lethargic. There's something going on. It might even be your sleep habits have changed. It could be your low testosterone level if that's the case. How do you find out? Contact pettycliniclowt.com. They will set you up to get your blood work, take care of that appointment, get the results, and then get the results. And if it looks like maybe a little bit lower than it needs to be or quite a bit lower, Dr. Kent Petty can put you in a program to give you that oomph back, so to speak. pettycliniclowt.com.
To start something new sales event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get the new 2025 Jeep Compass for just $25,995 or the 2025 Dodge Hornet GT for only $28,995. Save 20% on the 2024 Jeep Gladiators for 2.9% for 72 months. And the Jeep Wagoneer Series 2 gets $11,000 in discounts plus 3.9% for 72 months. Only at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Kim Coulter in the Super Chat. Thanks for the Super Chat. Certainly right about Stanford academics. That's why tech grads hire Stanford grads.
I like that. Yeah,
smart.
That is good.
Hell yeah. I mean, absolutely.
No, listen, you got to hire the nerds to do the work so that you can go party.
Right.
That's true. I mean, that's what you do. They don't want to be.
Did you ever get either one of you guys get a letter from Stanford asking you to apply to their school?
No, I got into Georgetown, though.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Man, I think of you differently now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Georgetown Paul and FSU Paul is like two totally different people, I feel like.
Yeah, Georgetown, you would be a Valley Girl type, right?
No, Valley
Georgetown's
Girl.
a big law school. Like,
no, you could still be kind of like, you know,
Valley Girl would be the thing.
You know, actually,
that's Pepperdine.
Here's my regret about not going to Georgetown. I would have been the same time as two of my favorite comedians, Nick Kroll and John Mulaney. You know, so I think about that quite a bit. But no, I don't have any regrets. FSU was awesome. But yeah, no, I really thought about going there. Yeah, so it was my mom was a little upset. My dad, who was going to have to write the check, was like, well, you do what you want.
No.
You do what you want to do.
Yeah, would you have gotten any kind of grants or anything?
Oh, yeah, I would have.
Because Georgetown is a large dollar.
But also, like, the dorm's really old. Like, you're not going to stay in the dorms there very long other than, like, a year. So then you got to get an apartment in D.C., which is way more expensive in the late 90s and early 2000s than an apartment in Tallahassee or College Station or any other places I applied to go, Tuscaloosa, Baton Rouge, you know, all that. And so I wanted to go to a big football school, and that was pretty much the draw.
So why'd you go to Florida State? No, I'm just kidding.
$88,000 tuition.
98.
No, I know.
Game. The game. 99 win.
Yeah.
And 2000, of course, you remember that.
I was wondering what you were going to say about 2000.
2000. Hey, look, but we were there.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, like, it's about the journey, not the destination.
Garrett, do you have John's text, his number where you could text that link to him?
Yeah, I'll figure it out. Hang on.
Yeah, I'll send it to you, Garrett.
All right, he's in his car. He's going to do it within his car. So he said his email's not popping up in his car. So if we do that, we can get him locked in. The average tuition before financial aid at Georgetown was $88,000. That's 1 year, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what it was back then.
Were you going to be a lawyer?
I was going to work in politics is what I wanted to do. And
you kind of do that anyway, it seems like to me.
And then when I was at Florida State and a political science major, I was around a bunch of people who were the slimiest bunch of little shits you could possibly imagine.
Oh.
And I was like, no, I don't think this is me. Like, it just, like, it felt wrong. Like, you'd sit around, like, after a class and you talk about things. And, you know, I like to talk about issues. And I am an altruistic person. I like to think that I am. And I wanted to get into government because I thought I could be like Leslie Knope from Parks and Rec and enact real change. And then I had a bunch of people that just believed in nothing. They're just like, okay, 10-year plan. By the time I'm 32, I should be in the State House. And I'm like, well, okay, well, what do you want to do? It's like, well, it doesn't matter as long as you get, like, you know, 2 terms there, and then I'll run in my district for the House, and then after 6 terms there, I'll be a senator. And I'm like, yeah, but I mean, like, what do you care about? And they're like, no, I want to be in charge of things. I'm like, yeah, but how are you going to help people?
Totally believe all of that based on everything
and
we see nowadays.
And it wasn't just one conversation. It was like, it wasn't just one conversation. It was like conversation after conversation after conversation where you're like, ugh.
How long, like you have medical school for those who want to be doctors or whatever, which is extension of where you go to school for 4 years or whatever. How many years do you have to go to law school, a part of your time at any university?
Well, I mean,
is that like another 2 or 4?
Law school's 3 years.
Okay.
You know, and I didn't know if I was going to go to law school or if I was just going to get like a master's and then start working in government. But I mean, after 2 years of that, I remember going home and telling my dad, I'm like, Dad, these people are terrible. And he's like, oh no, they can't be that bad. I'm like, yeah, they're that bad. I mean, it's just.
I 100% believe all that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. They like, you know, I went to the meeting of like every major has like a fraternity, like there's a business fraternity and all this. So I went to the meeting because I was like, great. And then it was just, I just found out I wasn't like any of those people. I just wasn't. I couldn't find my. Like every time.
Well, dude, that in a nutshell is what's wrong with politics. Is that there's a bunch of people just trying to career jump and not really like help anybody. Yeah.
And like I remember I remember meeting one girl who wanted to be a lobbyist, and I was like, well, that's kind of a weird thing to fall into. Like, right now you're 21, you want to be a lobbyist for what? She's like, I don't care. I just like it. I'm like, well, I mean, you don't want to be like for healthcare or for poor people or for, an issue like making sure that housing is good or all these other things. And by the way, I was a registered Republican when all this is going on, so the people calling me Comrade Catalina, will say like, oh, okay.
By the way, you said nothing that's like leaning one way or the other. By the way,
so, like,
that just shows you how defensive people get.
I don't think anyone has said it today.
No, okay, not today. But like all the people are going to call me Comrade Catalina. But she was like, no, I just want to be a lobbyist. I'm like, well, what if you're a lobbyist for like missiles or something? It's not a good thing.
Garrett,
Yeah, we need to call him.
All right, we'll call him. I'm sorry. Okay. I was curious about how long that takes. My brother, Philip, and his wife, Marianne, her daughter received her law degree from Georgetown University. And so that's why I know that was, and I think a lot of it was because she got a free ride based on earning various type of grants, et cetera, for what she did. We got John Gallagher here in just a second. You have the number?
Yeah, I'm just trying to.
Yeah, we have John Gallagher here in just a second. He's in San Antonio at the Final Four. So Ari Temkin from Big 12 Radio, Paul visited with him earlier today. We'll have that interview, by the way, in the 5 o'clock hour. And I mentioned the John Wilner segment today at 4:45, and we're checking into Syracuse today when it comes to the ACC and going program by program in their 2025 schedule. John Gallagher, Manhattan basketball coach, joins us on 365 Sports. John, thanks for your time. It is a huge basketball coach fraternity party in San Antonio. Hope you're enjoying the state of Texas. We appreciate your time. This has been chock from almost the opening tip, the first day of the tournament. Your thoughts about where we are right now with these four?
So these four have the best budgets for NIL, and they have the best coaches, and they've managed the program the best way. So, Smokey, this is a Final Four that is chalk because great management, but most importantly, these four coaches understand how to win in this climate of college basketball better than anyone else.
Houston and Duke is a really interesting game because they're different styles, but they're both just so lethal on defense. And Houston's the best defensive team. Duke's got the most efficient, best offense in the country. How do you see this game stylistically playing out?
A total brawl. This will be it'll be interesting to see if the winner of this game can win it on 48 hours notice, if they're worn out. So the winner of this game is going to be, in my opinion, going to have a more challenge because the physicality in both of these teams is insane. It's just insane. So you're going to see they guard without fouling, and they foul every play. So it's hard. I know it's the kind of they foul a lot, but they don't get called for it because they're so physical every play. Both of them. So I think the winner of this game may have trouble winning Monday night, if you know what I'm saying, because they're going to get hit on the gasoline tank harder than the other game.
So how much, John, as a coach, if you're going against one of these styles that you just described with those two, how much does that wear out a team? Is it more physical or mental?
Well, first off, I think there's a majority of us that are rooting for Kelvin just because what he's done for our business. Then there's a majority of people that love Duke. So you have that, coaches in general want the oldest tenured guy that hasn't won it just because we understand how hard it is to get here. But, John Shire, you could argue, he's one of the few coaches in the world that's taken over for a legend and hasn't missed a beat. So it's a fascinating matchup that I got to tell you that it'll be probably one of the most watched games and Final Fours of all time.
Is Duke more likable with John Shire and this team that they have specifically this year? Because obviously a lot of people hate teams that win. Sometimes they just hate Duke. or they didn't like Coach K or whatever. Is it a more likable Duke right now?
Well, I think Coach K had to build it up from beating North Carolina, right, out of the shadows of North Carolina. So now you got to look at it, and I'm just telling you, is it more likable? Well, the kid's flag is so good, and he's so watched, and he's so covered. Realistically, he's one of the best players I've ever seen in college in the last 20 years. Look, my Hartford team played Zion, and I think this is a way more – this kid he's just unbelievable.
We had golly, I forgot who it was. Oh, Reed Geddes, who was a guard for Houston back during Phi Slamma Jamma. We were trying to figure out who he reminds people of. And, of course, he was joking around that he immediately brought up, like, all the great white players. Is there anybody in particular that he reminds you of, maybe is good, doesn't have to be better or what, but some of the style of a player, no matter who it might be?
LeBron. Not as physical as LeBron, but the passing, the scoring. Go look at LeBron in his rookie year in the league. I mean, look, this is as good as a college player as we'll ever see, and I think we have a chance to see a lot of that because the money's real now in our business, and it's legal, and you know you got to give Duke credit. They signed him. I thought he would. I thought UConn had won back-to-back titles. He's right up there in Maine. I think it came down to Duke and UConn. If UConn got him, UConn would be in this game for a third straight time.
Okay. John Gallagher, Manhattan men's basketball coach with us, a great friend of the show for the last 5 years with us on 365 Sports.
What does the familiarity between Auburn and Florida mean for this game on Sunday?
This is like two brothers playing against each other, and they know each other better than anybody. So it's a problem. It's a problem because both teams. This could end up being a low-scoring game because they know each other so well. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have two teams that know everything each other does, know each other, how they play, and how they breathe.
The fact that they've played before, Auburn got, Florida smoked them earlier this year in Auburn. And does that matter at all, several weeks later?
You broke up. Say it again.
Florida smoked Auburn earlier this year. Does that matter a few weeks later, or does that just you at least go and learn a little bit from what happened that game?
You know what? I think it helps the team that got blown out because they have an edge to them. Anytime you Auburn, Bruce Pearl, no one has done better in the modern era, the system, than Bruce. All right? I mean, he kind of created this market. I mean, the guy is a genius. So I think you got to give him tons of credit. His team will be ready to play. And then Todd, I've known him a long time. Right? He's a St. Mary's, Randy Bennett, that whole 38. They do the nerd ball where they calculate every play, and you got to give him credit. You know, at the end of the day, I got done studying about 2010, 15 years ago. I was in the Australian Institute of Sport, and this was the thing that they created at St. Mary's. And the head national coach of the Australian team, Adam Capehorn, said to me, "This is what we do." And I thought to myself, I'm from Philly. This isn't a math class, fellas. This is basketball. So I give them credit. They play that way, and their teams have a great. Todd's done an unbelievable job. So it's a fascinating matchup. Both games are so intriguing to me from a basketball standpoint. All four chalks, all four teams well coached. All four have, and it's going to come down to really two things. And you're going to circle this: the turnovers, okay? Who turns it over for the live ball turnovers, and then the offensive glass. Who's getting extra possessions on the glass? And if you study both games, you'll see it.
What do you mean by nerve ball? Was that the phrase?
Nerd ball.
No, nerd. What do you mean by that? For those, I didn't know what that meant.
So they do 38 things where they calculate like tip backs, how a team huddles, diving on the floor for loose balls, charges, the Gretzky assist where you pass it one more, and they chart it every day in practice. And it was originated, it's really interesting. So Bob Walsh, who's the assistant coach for Rick Pitino and St. John's, Bob Walsh started it with Kyle Smith, who's the head coach at Stanford, in the 90s for Brad Holland at San Diego. And not many people know that. Now, this is where you get into basketball aficionado and studying it. Brad Holland said, we have to do things differently than everybody in the WCC. So they started nerd ball. And that's how this started. So Bob Walsh and Kyle Smith are the originators after practice in San Diego, which is a fascinating thing that not many people know.
Great stuff. John Gallagher with us from San Antonio, the men's Final Four, joining us on 365 Sports.
John, Buzz Williams went to take the Maryland job. He left Texas A&M behind. A&M has all the money in the world. They have everything you'd need. I mean, it's a football-first school, and every school in Texas is going to be. But what is there trepidation among basketball coaches about going to a school that has been so much more football forward than basketball, even though they seem to be supporting it, bringing in guys like Buzz Williams and Billy Kennedy and the coaches they've had there shows that they care, but they can't keep anybody at A&M for a long time.
So here's the deal. It's so funny. This is a hysterical story. I got on the elevator as I pulled in here, and guess who was in the, I couldn't put the name to the face. So I said, hey, John Gallagher, Manhattan. He said, Jimbo Fisher, football.
No kidding.
So Jimbo Fisher's down here. So he actually said to me, hey, how about Buzz? I said, so interesting. You know, I think Buzz and a lot of coaches, just the reality of where we are in our business. You got a 5-6 year run at a place, and the message boards, your wife in the town, whatever it is, could be anything. Lon Kruger had it down to a science. Just out 6 of the year, 6. And I think that's where college coaches unfortunately are. And we, I think because of the business, guys are getting fired quick now. Imagine the University of Pennsylvania firing a legendary coach, okay, in the NIL era and paying him 4 years of a contract. Wouldn't happen. But we're in a different business. So I think guys are more, I wouldn't say paranoid, but more apt to just take a long runway, if you know what I'm saying.
Other than the games being played on Saturday evening and night, and whoever's going to get, do you have anybody in particular that you feel like might be the next at least target? Because McCaslin's not leaving Tech. We already mentioned Buzz left. What do you think is next for them?
I think they go to Porter Moser at Oklahoma because he's an old assistant. He's a Bobby Baroni assistant in the 90s. He met his wife there. I think they go to Porter. He's the best basketball coach out there. He had the lowest NIL by 100, not even close, and he made the NCAA tournament. Think about this. He was dealing with an NIL budget that another team that he almost beat twice had $8 million. Actually, he beat the team, had $8 million more. So I think at the end of the day, they're going to make a smart decision. They'll try to go after Porter, and that would be my guess. All
right, so if you don't mind me following up with that, is that you mentioned the NIL difference, which, again, it can be staggering. He was a hot name when Oklahoma hired him, but you get involved in these jobs, especially someone like A&M, where they want to make a splash, and yet the Eagles want to make even a bigger splash, but is it the right fit? How do you sell him to the A&M donors and boosters?
Well, first off, he's not a propaganda guy. Okay? He's a real guy. He's not going to send a message out there that's disingenuous. He's a real genuine guy. He would fit in. He's recruited Texas for 30 years. Scott Shoemaker at Blinn loves him, right? Jimmy Sagona at Collin County loves him. He's the most loved guy in the junior college world. There's not a more loved high major head coach in the junior college world. Okay, maybe Chris Jans at Mississippi State. Maybe Chris Jans. Okay, Porter is adored. He's loved. And I think sometimes you got to get out of your own way. If I put his resume up and we took his name off it and we put it up against other guys, he's a Final Four head coach. He's a Sweet 16 head coach. All right? He got absolutely the team that got screwed the worst in the history of the NCAA. The only reason they did not put Oklahoma in and they put Virginia in 2 years ago was in the second round they would have played Texas. Okay? It was Colorado State versus Virginia. It should have been Colorado State versus Oklahoma. And the guy on the committee said we were at a loss. We didn't know what to do. They would have had to blow up the bracket. So I think we're misconstruing, is he a hot name? He's a hot name if he has a good marketer. That's what I think.
You mentioned Scott Shoemaker, who I've known for, I think, close to 30 years when he was a coach at Kilgore College. He's been around. Now you said at Blinn. There's a picture. I have it. We just put it up, the one that you sent me, of you and Scott when you were in that postseason tournament on the beach in Florida somewhere. I'm so glad you brought him up because that gave me a chance to put that picture up. I like him a lot.
He's one of the best guys in our business. He's a junior college legend. He's a Hall of Famer. USA Basketball had him come in. Blinn College is lucky to have him. He's a special coach. He cares about the kids. He does it the right way. Look, he's got big-time players every year. And look, tying this in, I think Texas A&M's in a point where do you go for the ego hire or do you go for the right hire that can advance you to the tournament? So my advice or my vote is Porter Moser 100%.
Okay. Paul, anything else for John?
Nope.
So enjoy it. Is this just like a huge cocktail party for the next 4 days in San Antonio or 3 days?
I'm flying back right now. I got to build 9 teepee tents for my 9-year-old daughter birthday party tomorrow. I'm on the 6:30 flight on Delta. I came for the head coaches meeting at 10:30 this morning, which all discussed. We need Mark Few this Tuesday goes in front of the Senate House Committee with Ted Cruz. We need Mark Few to really get things done, to get structured. The biggest thing we got going in college basketball is Mark Few's meeting, actually college athletics, Mark Few meeting in front of Ted Cruz and the Senate House Committee, and we got to get Fewy in front of Donald Trump. The only way we get this done.
Otherwise, it just keeps becoming just crazy as it is as ever before.
And I was with Fewy for 1 hour. He's the only guy that can get in front of Trump. We need him in front of Trump because we can get an executive order to try to get some structure, because if not, we're going to keep having lawsuits. We're going to keep having running around.
Can that happen?
We need some structure.
Yeah, John, but can that, and the House settlement thing is coming up on Monday too, and some coaches have, even the biggest of schools like Kirby Smart, like they're not sure really still what the rules are. Chris Kleiman, the football coach at K-State, saying he doesn't even know whether or not he can, if a kid gets hurt, can he be a part of the 105-man scholarship? So it's across the board. So are coaches, even those who thrive in this particular environment, are they themselves still wanting structure, or are they fine?
I think everybody wants structure, but at the end of the day, would you rather, it's the old Irish saying when you go into the Irish neighborhood, would you rather ask for permission or ask for forgiveness? Okay? Right now, you can't ask anybody for permission. You just got to go, because at the end of the day, there is no rules. And at the end of the day, Mark Few is the only coach And I actually think it's Nick Saban and Mark Few. They're the two guys that can get in front of Donald Trump and try to get an executive order to get some structure. We have to save college athletics.
Thank you, buddy. Enjoy your trip. Have fun building those teepees and also enjoying the birthday of your daughter this weekend. We appreciate you. I know you're busy. Manhattan basketball coach John Gallagher. Okay, Craig, Paul, executive order, is that, whether you like the guy or not, if he was to do something, what does that mean, and can that be challenged?
Every single one of his executive orders has been challenged already. Every single one.
Yep.
So, yeah, it'll be challenged. I mean, and like, I know that, like, this is – and, look, Mark Few is a very right-leaning guy, so that's why they say he's the only one who can get in front of Trump and do this. But this is still not an issue that politicians care about more than just being able to say that they talked about it. So I don't – because it's not – again, it's not going to get them on Fox News. It's not going to get them on CNN. It's not going to get them in front of anything. So – executive order might, like, push some things along, but to think that, like, that will get challenged too. Like, that's going to be right back in court, and it'll be in court for a lot longer and a lot messier. And especially given the fact that all these other ones have been challenged, that, no, it's not like that might be the shortest cut to it, but no. Congress, like, the biggest thing is Congress, and this is across the board, with everything. And this has been I'm going to say about a 16-year problem with our Congress. They just got to get off their ass and do their jobs. They've got to do their jobs.
Well, how about this? Just do what's right for our country.
Yeah,
rather than what's right for who lines their pockets or whatever.
I mean, like, because I can go on forever about how I feel about certain things, but I'll just tell you, there's 400-plus members of Congress. There's one president. Congress is supposed to do the work. The president's supposed to endorse or not endorse what they do. That's the system that we set up, and that has worked very well in spite of many flaws, but worked very well for a long time that we have somehow forgotten about. Our founding fathers set up a really damn good system. It's got things that need to be changed, but not the whole baby with the bathwater thing. Congress has got to get off their ass.
All right. Thanks to John Gallagher for joining the show. We've got a few more things down the road, of course. And in the next segment, that House settlement, which is on Monday, Matt Brown with Extra Points had a couple of comments about what to or not expect this weekend. By the way, Kyle Visser, you mentioned it's Scott Schumacher. And yes, it's Schumacher, I believe. That's the picture we showed with John Gallagher when Schumacher had a player on John's team from Blinn College, which, of course, is down in Brenham, home of Bluebell Ice Cream. This is 365 Sports. The Baylor Club. Today they released a new menu. They also had the Coastal Picnic on the patio that is about to start in about an hour and a half. National Gin and Tonic Day on Wednesday. Family Pasta Night on Thursday. That's next Thursday. And also, they have an Easter egg hunt. The weekend of Easter on Saturday at 1:30 in the afternoon. Get ready. The new season of flavors at the Baylor Club. Chef Lee has been hard at work. He does this multiple times a year. It's not like they just have a great menu and they do, and they stick to it, which would probably be fine, but he's always trying to put things together, crafting a spring 2025 menu that's sure to tickle your taste buds. Seasonal refresh to both the lunch and dinner menus, bringing vibrant new dishes inspired by the best of spring. So, the Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium, tell them that you're a viewer and you watch 365 Sports, and there's always something that they're going to have for you, and memberships are available. General Manager Mike Mosel, the Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium, I-35 in Waco.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, Warm, welcome home.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Don Humidor, you're home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions IT success guaranteed.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
I reached out to Matt Brown from Extra Point. You know, Matt, he's been on our show many times. He's really good about sports business, even sports law. He's not an attorney, but he's got that Extra Points newsletter.
He might as well be.
Yeah, he might as well be. His story today that came out, what to expect from next week's House settlement hearing. I think we all have made it very clear that we're tired of hearing about it, but it's going to be, finally, it seemed like that April the 7th has been, I don't know how long, months, that we've heard that date. So here's one of the things he mentioned. The hearing in the House settlement. It's an important event. We all understand why. The House settlement has created the structure for revenue sharing era of college athletics. It would be nice if every single major question that administrators, coaches, fans, and reporters have about all of it would actually be answered by Monday afternoon. He's going to join us on the show Monday afternoon. But I'm afraid it isn't very likely. What I expect to write more about the settlement next week. Let me drop in a very quick, brief Q&A. Will the settlement actually get 100% super-duper official approved on Monday? Probably not. Now, that doesn't mean the settlement won't be approved. While nobody can say for certain, most legal analysts working in and around college sports very much expect the settlement to be approved, even though there was more skepticism earlier in the year. Couple of more things. What is more likely on Monday is Judge Wilkin will hear the plaintiffs and various parties objecting to the settlement terms. A few days later, she'll offer an official ruling. Could be on Monday, could be on Thursday, could be the following week. Functionally, I don't think the date matters much, but I want folks to know so nobody freaks out if the workday ends and no white smoke comes out from the federal courthouse in Oakland. If the settlement is approved, does it mean litigation surrounding athlete compensation will end? Probably not. Isn't that one of the keys to that? That they were going to have this done so that it would stop litigation And that's you can't say no more litigation.
It's only going to stop one part of litigation. Like it would stop we deserve some revenue share. Okay, well, let's not sue about that right now. Let's sue about the other parts of this. So it's not stopping, but small parts of it. And I think that's the scary issue about the House settlement. And the other thing is the way I remember just reading it on the first day that we read about it. And, I'm not so sure that even though like a bunch of schools have opted into it, there's not some leaders out there that kind of just hope that this one doesn't get approved and it has to go back to the drawing board because of their smaller schools having to pay for the bigger schools' decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, man, this makes my freaking head hurt, the legal stuff. But I did come across an article by, I want to give credit to the Ava Maria School of Law. A guy named John Wright wrote about the lawsuits, and he talked about how it won't prevent future lawsuits. And so if I'll just trust his word on this because I sure as hell don't know how to properly talk about it. So he said why it won't stop future lawsuits is first, it doesn't address the disparate treatment between male and female athletes with respect to compensation, which could lead to future lawsuits under Title IX if female athletes are found to be historically disadvantaged class. Second, doesn't preempt or resolve competing state legislation surrounding NIL. And we've already seen a bunch of the southeastern states are like, we can't be down in NIL to the Big Ten schools, so we got to get our deal. And I know there's been other states around that have done that as well. It's not just that part of the country, but that's where it's been most publicized. Does not prevent that. So this is problematic because states are becoming increasingly more autonomous in the realm of NIL, sometimes bypassing the NCAA. For example, in September, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp joined Virginia in passing legislation that allows in-school states to pay players directly for their NIL rights without fear of NCAA retribution, regardless of whether the settlement is approved. So it doesn't fix that. Additionally, Tennessee and Virginia were granted a preliminary injunction against the NCAA after the NCAA attempted to punish Tennessee for using NIL as a recruiting tool, which is against their rules. Therefore, due to the settlement's silence on the power dynamic between the states and the NCAA, it's likely the states will continue to challenge the constitutionality of the NCAA in court. Third, it has not addressed the recurring issue of whether college athletes are employees of the universities. So there's that. And so, I could go on, but are those enough problems to let you know this isn't going to solve everything?
Yeah, I think, and I think it's fair to say that some of you, maybe even me, thought they would have the hearing. I didn't think they'd have any kind of decision that day. It'd be drawn out a little bit back and forth. But I thought this was going to solve everything, and it doesn't. So why is it a big deal?
Well, because it changes a lot of things, and it's definitely not the way that things have always been done. You're talking about revenue sharing between the schools and athletes. How is that not a big deal? That's never happened before. That's a massive deal.
Okay, revenue sharing, but what if Title IX then gets involved and they want to, it's going to be $20.5 million. Football gets 85%, men's basketball. What if that gets thrown into a hopper because they can't do it?
Well, that's what I just said is
I know.
One of the reasons
that's why I asked the question. Yeah, that's why. So really, what is being solved?
Nothing.
The revenue sharing between the athletes and the schools,
It
solves that.
Yeah, this is...
if it's solving... Okay, I'm not trying to be stubborn here or an idiot. You're going to come up with a 20.5, whatever that number is, but then that's even going to be challenged.
Oh, yeah. Look, here's what college athletics has been through a car wreck, right? So what this is going on is, so they're in the ER right now. And they have a couple broken legs and some broken ribs. This thing is going to fix their ribs. It's not going to fix their legs. They'll have another thing for that. This is just one of the surgeries that they will need. And actually, when you think about it, based on what Craig just said, it's the easiest one. And this hasn't been easy to show you what a long road ahead is for. The NCAA, they'll walk again, but it ain't going to be easy, and there's going to be a lot more, and so there's so many things that can be challenged, and the biggest thing about it is it doesn't have to be a class action to challenge it. At the start, it can just be one person who files a lawsuit with the right lawyer to get it going, and then more people can jump on board. So it's not like they had to get all these people together. If David Smoak, college athlete, feels that there's been some injustice. Well, here we go. Smoak versus NCAA. Let's get it. That's what's gonna happen.
Maybe I wasn't paying attention along the way, but I thought we'd get to April 7th knowing it wouldn't be completely solved and we could move forward. Like, Craig, you've mentioned you wish we could get to that point. And so will we feel any better, you think, after Monday when the hearing's over? Do you feel like at least in the next week or two after that, we will have the guidelines that we think we need to see in college athletics?
Well, no, because that's not what this is about.
No.
It's not what this is about. It's not about anything but the revenue sharing part of it for the most part. So now you've got, for the first time, the schools sharing their money with the athletes directly rather than doing it through the collectives. And no, it's not going to stop Title IX problems like I just laid out from this article. So yeah, I guess we, whoever that thought this was like the magic wand, we're all under the wrong impressions, because it's definitely not that. I don't think it's ever been promoted as that necessarily either, because there's always been the caveat of, but what about when somebody challenges the Title IX aspects of things? And so this was never the end-all, be-all thing. So yeah, if that's what your thought process was, then you weren't thinking about this the correct way. So yeah, it's not going to end everything, and we're not going to get on April 8th and it's like college sports is whole again and there's no more lawsuits and it's just like I grew up with. No, it's the stuff you grew up with is dead for the most part, except for on Saturdays when the games are being played, or weeknights when games are being played. That's when it's what it was. But beyond that, outside the lines, that's never going back. And if anything, it's just going to continue to be played out in courts, how it all looks when the dust finally does settle, whenever that time actually comes. But at least in terms of having the collectives all involved, that's the big thing here. Like, that's the big thing, is not having the blue collective in charge of the money and the schools aren't technically allowed to be a part of it. Well, now the schools can say, we'll work with you, or you work with us, within us, but it's not like we can't pretend like we're doing anything, even though we're sending you DMs saying, like, here's the guy that we want. Y'all put your money towards that. It's just eliminating that weird middleman thing that was going on there when we had to pretend like the schools couldn't have any fingerprints on this. Maybe I've completely just misread this whole thing. From that, I would be able to, after Monday, have a clear understanding, other than the fact that they're going to distribute $20.5 million in revenue sharing.
No, that's about it. They got one thing.
I hate you then for doing it. Both of you for bringing it up.
Just telling you, like, this is just another chapter in the book. We don't even know how long the book is.
So when you pick up a book and they says, like, there's 12 chapters.
Okay,
this one might have 800.
It's a cliffhanger.
Yeah,
it's a cliffhanger.
All right.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean,
oh shit. I thought it would be bigger than this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty big. I get what it is, but am I frustrating you about how I feel about this? Because it seems like I am with all of you.
You were frustratingly optimistic about this, I guess.
Okay. All right. Well.
Why should you be optimistic about anything right now when it comes to this?
Because I thought April 7th was going to be like then something we got to clear a path. I'm serious. I completely misunderstood this was more than just that who's going to get the money and how much.
This is just the next thing before the next amount of lawsuits.
But they said that the reason who was the attorney that had all the all the lawsuits?
Okay.
Who's the one that represented Alston or whoever it was?
Bannon. I can't remember.
O'Bannon.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's what they said. That's what they wanted to happen. They're trying to will things into existence by some of this and hoping that it works. When, again, you wouldn't have to worry about house settlement if you would collectively bargain. That's the answer. That's the answer. But they won't collectively bargain, so now they have to lose in court so that the United States government makes them have revenue sharing.
Conundrum.
That's why.
Conundrum. 12 chapters, but 34 volumes.
Yeah. I mean, like, this is just a volume. In the day,
the lawsuits will continue as long as lawyers get paid. From Paxton Smokey, I get what you're saying. I wanted answers too. And maybe
there's one other thing. There's roster limitations. There's that, but that's not at all what you are under the impression of either. So, it is what it is.
There are the roster limitations thing that's kind of a sweetener for schools and other coaches to get behind it, because if you were a coach that had partial scholarships and you were having to rob Peter to pay Paul to get a full baseball or softball or tennis roster, now if your university's willing to do it, you have a reasonable amount of scholarship limits that you can have. But it's still at the discretion of the university about how many scholarships they're going to give you. So if you had 11.3, well, now you can have 30. Georgia might give 30 baseball scholarships, or Tennessee might give 30 because they have a bunch of money in it. But, Texas State might just give 18, So it's
that's also part of what was the story earlier in the week? We brought this up that Alabama's AD, Byrne, was making, hey, listen, we're not just flush with money, and they're one of the most well-off. They're not one of the top 5 or 6 generators of revenue, but he was talking about how they cannot, when Texas wants to give their baseball team 33 scholarships, we can't do that. And Alabama is like, hey, we don't just have unlimited money, which, even so bigger programs.
When the initial House settlement came down, that's one of the things that jumped out at me. And we had the coaches mixer right after it. And I went to Mitch Thompson, Baylor's baseball coach, and I went, hey, you guys are finally going to have all the scholarships you need. He goes, yeah, maybe. And I was like, well, what do you mean maybe? He's like, well, it's still up to the university to get. We'll have more. I don't know how many more, and he's like, there's still a long way to go. He's like, that's a little bit of good news out of this. But the bottom line is, our TV deal's not that much money. There's not a lot of revenue to share. So still, okay, now I have scholarships. That's a good thing. But I still have to go out and get NIL. So only one minor part of this has changed for those sports.
It solves the problem for the people filing the lawsuit. It doesn't solve college football future problems.
I may not even solve theirs, but it's a settlement, so that's a thing. But again, there's still a lot of things that have to get approved, and who knows, waiting on what the judge is going to say. And also, the judge has not ever really been on the side of this is good enough, NCAA, you've done the work needed. So would not be surprised to see them have to go back to the drawing board.
Well, and she sent them back a few times.
To do it again.
Yeah. All right, when we come back, who are the most popular football programs in America? And I bet if I asked you to name 10, you could name 9.95 of them. But how did the Athletic.com come about? What they did is the most fans, popularity, et cetera, with different categories. We'll have that. This is 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, they are the people you can count on for all of your automotive needs right now. They're celebrating their big anniversary savings events, and they've got a lot of different models and a lot of different offerings over on the lot right now. So take full advantage this weekend and check out the people that have been serving Central Texas for 26 years. Right now, qualified non-GM owners can save $4,500 on a new 2025 Buick Encore GX. That's just one of their offerings. If you're looking for something in the Cadillac line, well, they've got the excitement of the Cadillac Lyriq, an everyday plain Jane electric vehicle. It is not. It is a awesome new electric vehicle that you can come and test drive today and experience the difference between the Cadillac Lyriq and other EVs out on the market. Those are just a couple of the offerings they have right now over at Richard Carr. They're locally owned, they're locally run, and they're celebrating 25 plus years in Waco. So do business in the area with a dealership that's given back to Baylor and the Waco community. Deal with people you can count on and take advantage of the big anniversary sales savings event going on right now at Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac.
Alan Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel Travel is one of their unique specialties. Alan Samuels, House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560 or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
We will have John Wilner from the Wilner Hotline on the story we opened up with earlier today about Cal and donors, NIL, those who try to feed the system for Cal Athletics, wanting Ron Rivera to have basically the hammer when it comes to running Cal's athletics and football. That will be with John today at around 4:45. We lean on him when it comes to things with Cal, Stanford, and some of the schools on the West Coast, and other ideas as well. So theathletic.com had a story. Which college football team has the most fans? And then why, in parentheses, we think Michigan edges Ohio State. Here are some. This is the top 10 after everything is accumulated. In A&M, Florida, OU at the bottom were like very, very small differences between those 3 teams, so they added all of them in a tie at number 10. Does that list the way it – now, again, this is not the most merchandise. This is not the largest TV ratings. This isn't the most viewers. This is everything combined, and it doesn't mean that if some other outlet or even if you did it, that you might come up with a slightly different, but this is a combination of revenue, online wagering of certain teams, merchandise, Fanatic, is it Homestead, is that right? Sales, TV viewership, Google, home attendance, all of this, and by the way, the TV view,
home field. That's the Fanatics and
home field, okay. Yeah. Home attendance, and then also TV viewership that includes StubHub ticket sales, top 20 watch teams, how many have been inside the top 20. So it's a combination of not just attendance, revenue, or how many Michigan jerseys are sold, and this is who they have 1 through 10.
Well, the top 2 are the 2 biggest universities in America, I believe, or 2 of the 5. And they hate each other. So that's going to be a thing. So there's a lot of
they feed off each
other. Online betting doesn't surprise me a little bit more for Michigan than it would be to Ohio State, especially given the last couple of years that Michigan has been up and down. So bettors betting against Michigan or for Michigan the last couple of years would have flipped, and they're kind of an interesting team, especially since last year they still had this pretty elite defense and an offense that was disastrous. So they might have been a pretty interesting play when it came to that. So, yeah, I mean, like, none of this surprises me that given all those factors, I mean, Michigan, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, A&M, and Florida are all gigantic schools. I mean, there's a lot of bodies at the schools currently. There's a lot of bodies who went to the schools. So you have a fan population there across the way that's just a ton of people. Alabama's not a small school. Georgia's not a small school. But comparatively, Notre Dame is a small school, but they also have, a religion behind them as well. So, yeah, they're just all, I mean, I wish there was one in there that would have been like, didn't know that about Utah, that they had so many people out there. But this list, given all those factors, not a surprise to me because it's not only popularity when it comes to sports is not only winning and your brand name, it's also hatred. So all 13 of those teams listed, or 12 teams listed there, have as many people who hate them as people that love them.
Yeah, I mean, this is the top 10 recruiting classes, the top biggest stadiums, the top, throw a category in there. This is basically the same schools we see every single time, so not surprising that they're also the most popular. And, yeah, that's the bluest of the blue bloods in a lot of cases, so fill in the blank on most whatever, and most NFL players. Probably going to be the majority of this list. Most biggest stadiums, probably going to be a majority of this list. Most NIL, maybe that'll be different because Texas Tech or somebody would interrupt that and throw themselves in the mix. But, I don't think there's any great surprises here. It's all the biggest brands, and they're the biggest brands because they have the most fans. So, I think there's, I don't know, maybe you'd think Texas is more popular than Georgia or – you'd have Notre Dame over Tennessee or something like that. But in terms of the teams involved, I don't really see any huge surprises here.
Well, the attendance, the top 5 in attendance, Garrett, if I said at the beginning, if I asked you to name the 10 most popular college football programs, I bet you could get 9.95 of them. Maybe 1 or 2 would slip through the cracks. Is there anybody that's not on that list that you think should be?
I mean, I think you could make a case historically for Florida State, but not given the past couple of years because they're usually kind of lumped in with these programs. But outside of that, there's not one that I could think of that could kind of jump up in there and get in the mix with them.
USC's not a part of this list. It's a small private school, but one that's incredibly popular.
USC, Miami, Clemson, FSU would be probably on the second tier, I guess. Nebraska.
There's a couple of categories where they're listed, but not a part of this overall.
But when you look at overall, like all those schools, like the schools I just listed, and like Florida and A&M right there, Florida has titles, but Florida and A&M, especially recently, OU, really just the last couple of years. I mean, they were dominating a conference for a quarter century before they left it. So, but A&M and Florida in particular for a very long time haven't been as relevant as they were, 20 years ago. Florida State, not as relevant as they were a decade ago. Nebraska, certainly not. Miami, certainly not. USC, certainly not. So all those schools have been less relevant over time. So you look at that bottom 3, like I would even kick A&M and Florida down and just put OU by themselves because OU of this list of those 3 is the only one who's had any kind of recent success as far as being in the playoff. And,
not under
Heisman Trophy winners and all those things.
Right,
yeah,
and they've still been relevant now the last couple of years. 2 of the last 3 years. All right, who do you think led the country with the most online wagering with them involved in a game?
Say that again.
Who among, it doesn't have to be a part of this list. In fact, there's going to be some of these questions that don't include the overall mixture, throwing it out and spitting it out like a computer. What college program led the country with the most online wagering when they played? I would have said probably Ohio State or Texas, but I'm wrong.
I'm going to say Alabama because of their schedule this past year.
They were 8th.
8th.
In fact, no, I'm sorry, they were 3rd. I'm sorry.
3rd, okay.
3rd, which is overall. I'm talking about online wagering. Craig?
Tennessee.
USC. And they're not a part of the overall top. But USC. USC? Is it because,
and here's the other thing that's weird. Like, I think sports betting's not legal in California right now. So,
you're getting away with it. Number 2 would have been Georgia. All right.
Well,
Number 1 merchandise sales. We've discussed this before. Notre Dame's 1.
Yeah.
Michigan is 2. They're almost like, you almost think of them 1 and 2. They used to play each other all the time.
You know what? You know why I think Notre Dame is 1? I swear to you on this.
Religion?
I think it's because every time a little baby gets born and baptized, there's somebody in that family or friend group that will bring in a little Notre Dame onesie. I think they sell more baby clothes than anybody. Maybe BYU is probably close in the baby clothes, but Notre Dame and BYU on the baby clothes have to be way up there because you have a religious event, a baptism, that you're going to, this is a good gift for the baptism. I'm a Notre Dame fan. It's a Catholic thing. You go in and, in the nomine Padre, the field of the Spirito Santi, and then boom, you've got
a onesie.
Yeah, a onesie.
Who do you think led the country with the most Google searches?
This past year?
No, this is from 2020 to the 2024.
Let's see. Who's head coach at Texas?
Texas, not in the top 5.
Well,
LSU?
6.
A&M?
Nope.
As in, what the F is going on?
Alabama.
Okay, yeah.
Think about a program that eats, sleeps, and does everything football, and of course, all of these do, but Alabama. They also had a category of the most tickets sold on StubHub when they're playing. Michigan was 1 and Alabama was 2. Texas was 3. Home attendance, we know all that. We know who those are. The top 20 most watched games. They had one category, by the way, of the highest viewership: Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Texas, 1 through 5. A big drop-off, by the way, between 4 and 5, Michigan and Texas. The top 20 watched games in college football, Alabama 22. Of course, they have been fantastic.
Go back a second.
Yeah.
You said a big drop-off between Michigan and Texas.
Yes. So Alabama has had 37 4 million or higher viewership games.
So what you're telling me is that there are 4 teams that would justifiably have their own network before the one that actually did.
The Longhorn Network? Well, one of them, I never thought of them having their own. Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and Michigan were 1 through 4. That's not a surprise who they are, and think about where they've been. But there was a drop-off from Michigan having 31 of those games of 4 million or more, and Texas having 19. And all the other ones were in the 30s. So this is, again, home attendance, capacity, all that stuff. We know that. We've gone over that many, many times. So who did you say, Garrett, you're surprised they're not on the list?
I think you could make a case for Florida State, just given traditionally what they've been able to do. But I know the past couple of years probably hindered that too.
Clemson's not on the list, and they've won 2 natties.
They were in the top 10 for Google searches.
Yeah. Well, Dabo says some dumb stuff, so, or some controversial stuff.
How about Oregon not a part of that? Because they're very popular when it comes to merchandise, but they're still kind of secluded.
Oregon, poser's not the right word. Imposter's not the right word. They are the biggest wannabe there is.
How long?
And they're trying hard. They're not doing, but they're not they have not achieved it yet. They are, they're the kid they're the guy in Karate Kid that follows Johnny Lawrence around, but it's not going to win the All Valley. The one laughing put him in a body bag. That's them. That's Oregon.
How long?
Dude, honestly, A&M's the exact same
thing.
thing.
No, absolutely. How much longer does Oregon have to be good but not do anything about it where they're not A&M on the West Coast?
What are they, what?
How long does Oregon have to be good, relevant, or whatever, popular, but not win anything, and all of a sudden they might as well be the West Coast version of Texas A&M? What have they ever won?
Nothing.
That is what they are.
That's what they are.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they are.
So there's no how long. That's what they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
StubHub ticket prices. I know we have John Wilner. The top 7 teams among StubHub. Michigan, number 1. They had 30% more ticket purchases than number 2, Alabama. Huge fan base, Michigan. And I thought it was pretty cool. They had Fanatics at, what'd you call it, Paul? Home field? all the same teams. Fanatics and Home Field, all the same teams. But there were a couple of times, like Auburn, when it comes to football revenue, and Nebraska inside the top 10. I wouldn't have thought of that, but they are. Those are two teams that aren't otherwise listed. Texas well ahead of everybody. $180.6 million. This is from up until a couple of years ago, and Georgia was second with $152 million. USC, the most bets. Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and Texas were the rest of the top 5. So there's a little bit of it, and this is, again, everybody can have their favorite. Everyone can look at different places. You could add different categories. Which school in America has the largest living alumni?
It's Ohio State, right?
They're 6th.
UCF.
No.
Oh, no, they have the largest.
They're too young.
They're too young. Largest BYU?
No.
No. That's not a big
One
school.
more shot at it, and then we go to John. 5 is A&M.
Okay.
4 is UCLA.
Oh, yeah, it's a big school.
Michigan 3, Penn State 2, and Indiana.
Huh. Wow.
It's 790,000 plus living alumni. So just something different. When we come back, John Wilner, the Wilner Hotline. John will join us on that Cal story from earlier today and much more. This is 365 Sports. Huge incentives in the month of April for Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. General Manager CEO is Ted Teague. New car sales and manager is David Gray. Right now, truck month at Alan Samuels, 1.9% financing on the 2025 Ram 1500 Lone Star or Laramie Crew Cab with a combo deal. $10,000 off MSRP and 3.9% financing for 72 months. Both $10,000 off MSRP and 3.9% financing for 72 months. Also, they have the Lone Star Laramie Crew Cab with a combo deal, $10,000 and that 3.9%, or how about just $15,000 right off the top off MSRP, and don't worry about the financing, how many months or what the percentage is. That's what you have. Your choice right now. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
John Wilner, when we need information, insight on the West Coast, well, really, it could be in like Connecticut, but at the same time, we've leaned on John quite a bit. Doesn't mean we always agree with each other, but we've really become very close, and we appreciate John, the Wilner Hotline, for joining us. And, man, there's so much that goes on. So what's going on at Cal, man?
Oh, well, you know, there's some donors who are a little bit unhappy with the way the football program is being operated, and they're threatening to withhold some NIL money until there's a change. They want Ron Rivera, who is a Cal alum, one of the greatest players in Cal history, you know, 2-time NFL Coach of the Year. Cal just brought him in to be their GM, football GM, and these donors want Rivera to have some real authority. And they are threatening to withhold NIL donations until he's given authority. I think he already has it. I think this is much to ado about nothing, to be honest with you. He's reporting to the university chancellor. That's a lot of authority. So they're looking across the bay and seeing that Andrew Luck is technically in charge of Stanford football, and they want Rivera to be technically in charge of Cal football. Justin Wilcox is still reporting the athletic director. But I think Rivera's got plenty of influence to get stuff done. He has the chancellor's ear. My guess is this will kind of go away over time.
Craig, repeat to John what you said when we brought up Ron Rivera, that this would be the hill they would die on or something.
No, I mean, I understand there's the connection there, John, but I just don't know that, like, having Ron Rivera have all football say is what I would be wanting if I was a fan based on just what we saw from him the last several years in the NFL. Like, he's a good coach. I know he's a legend there, but I don't think he's like this football genius that deserves to have all authority over Cal football. That's just my perspective on it.
Well, he's not going to call the plays. He's he's going to be there to advise the staff. His main role is basically to generate money for revenue sharing and NIL, because he is very popular with the Cal community, with the big donors, with the alums. And so he has much more of a big picture role than hands-on operational control of what's going on with the football program.
So John, is there a risk of alienating the donors who don't care one way or the other and just want Cal to be good at things, like causing a rift inside the money people?
I don't think so. You know, the athletic director, Jim Knowlton, is not very popular with the Cal football community, and some of that traces back to the COVID era, and that, you know, Cal basically was playing under different rules than a lot of other schools, especially in 2021. And Knowlton took a lot of blame for that, but he's got a contract for 3 or 4 more years, so he's not going anywhere. You know, the Rivera hire, a lot of the detail was Wilcox going to report to Rivera or to Knowlton? Was Rivera going to report directly to the chancellor or to Knowlton? And eventually they worked it out so that he reports to the chancellor. But I don't think they're at risk of alienating anybody, because all the Cal fans are in favor of having Rivera heavily involved in the general aspects of the program, fundraising, community outreach, all that kind of thing.
Is he beloved by, is that what it is? Okay.
Yes, he is.
It almost feels, sorry.
And he understands Cal, right? You know, some of the schools are a little different, and he gets the Cal dynamic and the impact of the academic side and the influence of the faculty, the importance of having 30 sports sponsored by the university. He gets all that. And so in a lot of ways, I think he is the ideal person for this role, because again, a lot of what he's going to be doing is stuff with the community and stuff across campus, not, calling plays.
So what influence do they want him to have then?
They wanted to raise money.
So that's all they want is just want the fans that are threatening to withhold their money just want him to have more power raising money? Or what do they want exactly in terms of his authority?
They want him to have authority over football, like Andrew Luck does at Stanford.
Right.
And he does not, because Justin Wilcox still reports to the athletic director. That's their issue. They want Rivera to have more authority because they trust him to do what's right for football much more than they trust the athletic director.
Okay. All that being said, Andrew Luck's had this job for half an hour. Time-wise, it's not been there that long. Now, look, he's super intelligent. I'm sure he's going to be super successful. But if you're basing it on what's going on in Stanford right now, I wouldn't want anybody to have the job that Andrew Luck has right now.
Yeah, tough situation. Troy Taylor had been investigated twice for inappropriate conduct towards female staffers before Luck took the job at the end of November. And, Stanford by that point had made the decision they were going to stick with Taylor for next season. And then the ESPN report broke, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And that caused Stanford at Luck to have to reconsider. There's no athletic director. The AD, Bernard Muir, stepped down at the end of February. They have an interim, but Luck is basically the face of Stanford football and Stanford athletics at this point. He is in charge of Stanford football. He reports directly to the president. And as he has admitted, he's new to this, right? So I think that the reason they went out and hired Frank Reich to be the interim for next season is because they kind of need to step back and figure out what does Stanford want to be in this new era, and that will help them figure out what type of head coach they want.
So is that the same for Cal then, as if you put Ron Rivera in charge of fundraising, whether you want a Justin Wilcox or somebody else or, whatever, this is the same kind of thing for them?
I think it is similar. It's just not the direct line of reporting is different because Reich will report to Luck and Luck will report to the president. At Cal, Justin Wilcox reports to the AD and the AD reports up to the chancellor. So it's a little bit different, but Rivera is going to have a lot of say in the big picture elements of Cal football and in the money, raising money and to support NIL and the revenue sharing.
John, I thought Cal didn't care about football.
Some people care, and the new chancellor cares. And that's, I've talked to the new chancellor a couple of times, and he gets it. I always look, when you talk to a president or chancellor, the tell for me is, do they talk about sports in the language of a chemist or a psychology, someone with a doctorate in psychology, or they talk about sports in the language of an athletic director? And Cal's chancellor talks about sports in the language of an athletic director. He was in the stands for the play in 1982. He understands that football can be the front porch for the university and the best marketing tool possible. The ESPN game day, the morning of the Miami game, he will point to that as proof of what football can do. I mean, you're not getting thousands of people at 6 a.m. to stand outside of Cal's engineering building for a lecture that day. So he gets it. And I think that gives Cal a little bit of hope here in this new era, because for Cal, for everybody, it starts at the top. You got to have alignment between your president, your AD, and your football coach.
So how does Stanford have that now when they have a new president and no AD and a football coach who's not going to be there?
Well, I think that the fact that the president went out and hired Andrew Luck and put him in charge of football suggests that he cares. This new president cares about football as well. He also went to Stanford. He's just like Cal's chancellor attended Cal as an undergrad. Stanford's president attended Stanford. I think hiring Luck to me was a good sign if you're a Stanford fan and you're worried that they can only take transfers from the Ivy League and they don't have an NIL game. I think that they are going to make a commitment to be competitive. Is it going to be enough to, compete with Clemson and then, Florida State and all them. I don't know, but I think that they've got a fighting chance now with the new leadership on both sides of the Bay, actually.
John, in terms of investments and things like that, a team out west making a lot of noise is Sacramento State with some of their hires and just their big picture, I guess, outlook. What can you explain to us about, what they're doing right now and the long-term goals? Is this them trying to get into the Pac-1? Like, what is this, and what do you make of it as somebody who's seen that program or that university a lot closer than we have over the years?
They certainly have got a good PR game. They went public in the fall that they had $50 million pledged in NIL, and a certain NFL reporter on ESPN took that to mean they had $50 million guaranteed. But they, they're being aggressive. And I think that program's got some potential at the FBS level. I don't think the Pac-12 is interested in them, certainly not as a first or second choice. But they see the light that major college football can do a lot for your university. It's interesting, though, because, the SEC and the Big Ten have made it clear they don't want more schools in the FBS. And they raise the entry fee as to try to tamp down interest. But Sac State's going to do whatever it takes to play with the big boys. I could see them maybe being a Mountain West school over time, probably not Pac-12, but we'll see how it goes. It's very interesting.
Yeah, they've been aggressive, and that's really the word that was used in the reporting is how aggressive they are.
And they got a pretty good market, right? Sacramento's number 20 market. There's a lot of players there, and they made a smart hire. Brennan Marion, who was the offensive coordinator at UNLV, he is a very sharp young head coach.
Absolutely, he was at UNLV prior to that, right? With oh my God, the coach is now at Purdue. Barry Odom, I think it was.
Yeah. The go-go offense. Marion was a very smart hire by them, connects with the kids, very aggressive in the community. So they're doing everything right. I don't know where they're going to end up, but I've been impressed so far.
John, we were bringing this up. We had theathletic.com had a story based on like 10, 12 different categories, from the ones you would think, stadium capacity, sales, et cetera, merchandise, but other parts. Is Oregon, they've been relevant and obviously popular, but do they take any heat on the West or in the Pacific time zone for being glitz and glamour but no meat and bones?
They certainly take heat in Seattle on that front. They certainly take heat there in Seattle. And from USC fans too, right? They're kind of the Johnny come lately. Now, in fairness to them, right? They made the BCS championship game and lost to Auburn, and they made the CFP in the first year, lost to Ohio State in the championship, made it this year. They've been very good, but they don't have a national championship, and they've kind of missed out on the big stage a few times. So they're pretty well respected, though. I think a lot of people out here, college football people, respect the commitment. Oregon has been all in to win in football for many years. Now, some of that is driven by the desire to get a championship for Phil Knight, who is, I think he's 86. But the commitment to winning is respected. But they do take some heat for not having a title, given everything they've put into the program to this point over the last, 20 years. They hired Chip Kelly 2007, I think it was. So, they've been doing it, but they have so far been a little bit short.
Yeah, I think they're the West Coast Texas A&M. Like, they have all the money and the facilities and the history, but they just don't have, like, the national title. So if you want to be in all these top 10 lists, that's great. But then when it gets to, like, the all-time greatest programs, it's like, no, you're not in that club. Like, you can be in a lot of the other clubs, but you're not in those clubs, the Blue Blood Club. Yeah.
And Washington holds that over them. Washington fans hold that over them, and obviously USC fans do too. But, the thing about that A&M comparison is, A&M never went to the CFP, right? Yeah. So Oregon's got, in the last 15 years, 2 playoff and a BCS championship, so appearance. So that's pretty good, you know, and a bunch of top 10 finishes, a bunch of Rose Bowl wins. It's pretty good. A&M, almost a poor man's Oregon.
Yeah.
And Oregon's a poor man's USC or whatever you want to say.
Yeah, they just need that natty to just cement everything.
Need
That's
the
just the one
natty.
thing that's missing.
And
for them.
if they get that natty, you are going to hear about it. That giant duck is going to be in your studio holding that natty. They're going to make sure everybody knows it.
Well, we will welcome him. John, man, it seems like you probably have more to cover, but in a good way and a bad way, like with just all of the fracturing that's happened, because you can talk about all these multiple conferences now, and that's also probably a detriment at times. But when it comes to the West Coast, where are your eyes kind of as far as the big off-season topics? I guess continuing realignments, right? The Pac-12 and what they're still trying to do. Just sort of, if you were to set the table for us non-Westerners, kind of what's the big items on the menu you feel like over the coming months?
Yeah, I mean, it's been great for content, not great for my sleep, but I'll take that trade. So, to be honest, everybody's waiting for Monday. I mean, the House case is got everyone, not only on the West Coast, but across the country, kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. I think once we get past that, whether she actually approves on Monday or in the coming weeks, I think that's going to add a lot of clarity. The Pac-12 and the Mountain West are both trying to get media rights deals done, and they both have lawsuits going on. So at the sub-Power 4 level, there's still a lot of realignment. In terms of the West Coast schools that are in the, Big 12, Big 10, ACC, a lot of it, I don't see any huge issues hanging over everyone. Most of it is just trying to muster your resources to get ready for revenue share and allocating your cash, how you're going to do it. I think that they're all going to kind of take the lead from the conference offices, but they may do it a little bit differently. But that's what it's all about right now for these next few months out here.
How weird was it seeing Oregon, Arizona, playing in March, and it's there's no PAC affiliation.
Yeah.
And it's, that had to be strange.
It was strange. I mean, I was glad that they got that matchup because, it was a good game and that's a good rivalry. And those two schools should figure out a way to play a non-conference game every year, frankly. It was strange. The biggest thing that was different this year, it wasn't just not having the Pac-12, to be honest. It was not having Bill Walton, right? Yeah. I mean, that really, he was the face and voice and humanity of college basketball in the West, and not just the UCLA or the Pac-12 schools, but Gonzaga too. I mean, everybody looked, Walton was it. And him not being around this basketball season, there was a big void, to be honest, in the culture of college basketball out West without him around.
Yeah, there was. Who was the guy that did the games with him?
Dave Pasch.
God, he would every once in a while put up a tweet of something Walton had said or whatever, even an old tweet. It would just make you go, damn, he's gone.
I've never seen anybody who was more beloved than Bill Walton. I mean, it was unbelievable. After he passed, Twitter was incredible. Days and days of people telling stories about seeing Walton in a grocery store, and just the way he made everybody feel so good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I would have loved to run into him in a Ralph's and just been like, "Hey, what do you think about broccoli?" And then just let him go.
Oh,
that would have been the best. That would have been the best day of my life.
2 hours later, you would have gotten out of that Ralph's.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Amazing.
The first time I ever spoke to Bill on the phone, I said, "Hi, Bill. It's John Wilner," and then I was literally silent for 25 minutes. and didn't even ask a question. He just said hello and just started going for 25 consecutive minutes. It was unbelievable.
Have you seen the trees that's on the side of the Rocky Mountains?
Oh, my gosh. Have you seen Joan Baez at the Greek Theater in Berkeley?
John, thank you. By the way, on that house settlement, I was bringing this up earlier. I really have missed the boat on exactly what might happen in the end. I thought it would be a lot more clarity, and there will be on specifics, but there's just so much still out there, isn't there?
Well, the Title IX issue is going to, and there's still the other lawsuit going on in Colorado. So it's going to provide a little bit of clarity, but we're still a long way. I kind of phrased it as it's not the beginning of the end. It's that Churchill phrase. It's not the beginning of the end, but it's the end of the beginning for college sports, right? We still got a long way to go. These next 6-8 years are going to make the past 5 years seem like amateur hour, but the house is an important piece to kind of getting to the end of the road here.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you jumping in with us today. Have a
All
great
right, guys.
weekend.
Thanks for having me.
John Wilner, the Wilner Hotline, with us on the story with Cal and what they want and more.
And I think he and I were like a little bit lost in translation there, because I was asking him, so they want, more power. And he's like, no, they just want him to have, and it's like, no, but they want him to have football power. Yeah. So like, no, they don't want him necessarily going out and hitting the road recruiting, but they want him to have football say. And I think we got kind of confused on what we were talking about there. So I think we eventually said the same thing, and I maintain what I said of, so you want him to have all this football say? I mean, okay, but it sounds like anything, that whole situation is more like, can we get this athletic director out of here?
Yeah.
That sounds to me like if they did that, then everybody would be fine, but it's mostly they have an issue with him as much as anything.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
To me. So let's put in a person there that will force this guy to go, you know what, the job at Cal State Northridge is open. I might go and do that.
Yeah.
I don't, not you would go to, but yeah, let me, look, I've never been to Florida Gulf Coast University before. That seems nice. Sanibel Island's right there. It's very pretty. White sandy beaches. I'm going.
Yeah. Who was the guy who was the coach that we mentioned? Was Florida Atlantic? Who was the one we had about how beautiful it is? Was it Florida Gulf Coast? No, the guy, May at where's he at? Michigan. Where was he at?
He was at FAU. Where John Jacobs is now.
All right. Okay.
They're in Boca. Boca's
Didn't
very
he say
pretty.
it's like a 10-minute drive to the beach from the campus or something?
Yeah,
Not
and then
even
of course we had the AD at Coastal Carolina.
That's right. That's right.
This last week, Chance Miller, and he did offer us a chance to go there, Smokey, and I will be, at least for one, taking him up on that. Craig, you in?
To where?
To go and do our show at Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, I've never been to the Carolinas. I would love to go.
Been there one time, been through it a few times when I was younger, but one time on a golf trip, the first day was glorious, just beautiful golf courses, and then here comes a storm system that sat over South Carolina for about 4 days, and we got no other golf in. It was miserable. When we come back, we're going to look at Syracuse in their football schedule. Also, Paul Catalina with Ari Temkin, Big 12 Radio, and the top 5, and this is 365 Sports. Ideal, MRI.com in the Central Texas marketplace, and a place that will help your doctor and you figure out what is hurting you, what is the pain that you have in your neck or your shoulder, or like I had recently in my shoulder blade that was because of my neck, or in your hip because of your lower part of your spine, and then even your knees. Of course, you always hear about ACLs and MCLs and PCLs and more, and you surely hope it's not that. But there's other reasons to get an MRI. Maybe your doctor or whoever it is wants to get a better picture of your abdomen because something doesn't seem to be right, and is there something in your abdomen that is a concern? And then maybe the great news, of course, it is great news, is when it's clear. $497 or less every single time when you get an MRI at Ideal MRI. I've been there. I'm now on Medicare, so it doesn't cost me anything. But when it was, before that, it was $497. That's a steal when the average around the country is $1,100 or more. Dr. Rob Maxey and his partners with a great, great, great business, IdealMRI.com.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student-athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student-athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student-athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student-athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
This is 365 Sports. Check out the 365 Sports family of channels on YouTube.
We are slowly, methodically, and surely getting through the Atlantic Coast Conference, the ACC, as we go schedules of teams, and we're already up to the last possible S in the ACC, and it's Syracuse and our good friend Fran Brown.
Yep, the Syracuse Orange, looking at their schedule right here. Big year for Fran Brown last year, 10-3. Went to a bowl game, and man, just a team that I think definitely exceeded expectations when you thought about, just year one and a program like that, 10 wins, and then going and winning your bowl game against Washington State in the Holiday Bowl. Big time exclamation point on what was just a big time season for all of Syracuse University for the football program, and certainly for Fran Brown and his staff, of which we're familiar with a lot of those guys. But here they are heading into year 2, and now, unlike last year when there was basically zero expectations, they have a whole lot of expectations. And so how do they deal with that? We're not going to predict that right now. We're just going to take a look at who they play. So beginning with Syracuse's 2025 football schedule, we're going to start with the bit of a banger right out of the gates. The Tennessee Vols right there in Atlanta, Georgia. A neutral site game, Aflac kickoff on Saturday, August the 30th. The Vols will, I think, almost undoubtedly be in the top 25. I would think Syracuse probably in the mix as well. But Tennessee right out of the gates on August the 30th in Atlanta. And I don't know Syracuse's history off the top of my head. I don't know how often they've done neutral site games or anything like that. But I have to imagine Atlanta, Georgia versus Tennessee is a bit more than they bit off in years past. Maybe I'm wrong on that, and I'll be happy to be corrected. And I mean that in a complimentary way of, like, that's a big-time game to start the season. Mm-hmm. And not normally a game like Tennessee would normally be playing more of a, quite frankly, let's face it, a named team. Yep. Not Syracuse, but I think it just speaks to, who they are becoming. Then on Saturday, September the 6th, it'll be the UConn Huskies, who are no slouches. There with Jim Mora Jr. Friday, September the 12th, they will host Colgate. So back-to-back home games against UConn and Colgate, and their first and only non-Saturday game of the entire schedule will be on that Friday against Colgate. So, I mean, I highly doubt that's, well, I guess it could perhaps be on national television, but I don't think there'll be a lot to that game. We'll just hear the final score at some point in time.
I don't think teams are going to play on Friday if it's not national, right?
But that could be the ESPN Plus game.
Yeah,
could be the ESPN
that's true.
Plus
game. Yeah.
So they have that, and we will shut it off there just in terms of the first 3 games of their non-conference schedule, because they still don't have a bye coming just yet. We will get to that, but they're about to start conference play, so before they do, we'll at least stop here, and I'll get to the rest of it here in the next few words.
That's a banger. We love bangers, and that's a banger because Syracuse makes that a banger. Tennessee, of course, involved, but that makes it a banger. And I'm not looking at the entire schedule. That could be, this thing's going to be tough for Franny.
Garrett, you know who the quarterback at Syracuse is going to be?
I have no clue.
Yeah, you know a lot about him, though. It's going to be Ricky Collins.
Oh, I did not expect that. Okay.
Transferred from LSU and was a highly recruited player.
Very highly.
Yeah, very highly recruited player. So Ricky Collins' first start is going to be against Tennessee.
Give me Tennessee then in that case. Yeah.
I mean,
no offense, but yeah, that'll be a big time game to debut.
And look, Knoxville to Atlanta is just a couple of hours. So that's, even though it's a neutral site,
the
that's
SEC
a Tennessee
team,
game.
no matter what, if they're playing in Atlanta, it's a home game.
Well, it's like any Big 12 team playing in Dallas or Kansas City. I mean, honestly, if you're playing in Dallas or Kansas City in the Big 12, at least classic Big 12, you're going to have some people.
Who would win the game between Colgate and Crest if Crest had a football team?
Oh, got to be Crest.
Okay.
Advanced whitening? I mean, 4 out of the 5 dentists aren't just bullshitting you.
All right, Craig, back to normalcy.
All right, so non-con, Tennessee there on August 30th, the Atlanta-Georgia Aflac kickoff game. Mentioned UConn, Colgate at home. And then up next on the schedule for the Syracuse Orange, you will start ACC conference play on Saturday, September the 20th. So it'll be 8 days in between games because you just played on a Friday, but still no break yet. It's just the first month, but wrapping up that first month with your fourth contest, you'll be on the road at Clemson to open ACC play. So in the first 4 weeks, they will play Tennessee and Atlanta, and then Clemson out there in Death Valley. They continue on Saturday, September the 27th. They get the Duke Blue Devils at home there at the JMA Wireless Dome. Duke, and then another game before they get a break on Saturday, October the 4th. It'll be a road trip to SMU and to the University Park, Highland Park area of Dallas, the affluent area of Dallas right there. But a great spot just to fly right to Love Field and drive, 5 minutes? And you're basically probably where you're staying. I mean, it's very convenient. And that is where they will finally close out the first portion of their schedule. So Tennessee in Atlanta, UConn and Colgate at home, Clemson on the road, Duke at home, SMU on the road, and then they take their first breather there on October the 11th.
This is a hell of a congratulations on your first good season in a very long time in the ACC. Now here's a new one scheduled for Syracuse when you got to go to Clemson, then play Duke, and then go to SMU. 3 of the best teams in the conference, and you've already played Tennessee on your schedule. We'll see how far along. We'll know before that first bye week how realistic it is for this Syracuse team to contend.
As good as they were and fun to watch and what they did, this could be where you bit off more than you can chew. Not because of anything you've done. The expectations because of the schedule. Good God, that looks tough.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be well-seasoned, that's for sure.
And we'll get to the end of it, but
they hope so.
There is, I mean, this is...
There's not a lot of breaks,
as we'll get to. Unforgiving.
Yeah,
it's unforgiving.
So
absolutely.
After SMU, you get the break on Saturday, October the 11th. Then you come back Saturday, October the 18th, Pitt at home, which is not a gimme game by any means. Then you go to Atlanta for the second time, as you will take on Georgia Tech there at Bobby Dodd Stadium. Then come back, and I was wrong. I misread that. Their second Friday game, I was wrong about that. I wrote that down wrong. Their second Friday game, based on this, unless there's been a tweak to the schedule. Perhaps that's what happened, but I'll go with what's in front of me. The second Friday game, North Carolina in Syracuse. And then Saturday, November the 8th, they go to Miami to play the Hurricanes. So that second block of the schedule, Pitt at home, at Georgia Tech, North Carolina at home, at Miami, and now their second and final bye week.
Okay, so far...
Can they tap out?
So far on their ACC schedule, the worst team on paper right now is North Carolina.
Yep.
And their coach is Bill Belichick.
Yes.
So, like the good news is it's year one of Bill Belichick. The bad news is it's like week 9.
And by then you maybe figured some things out, tweaked a little bit. Yeah.
So
yeah, man,
goodness.
they've got some. I mean, so far we'll get into it. They've got some cool road trips, but just wait because they've got another one coming up. When they come back from their second bye week after having gone to Miami, they go back on the road 2 weeks later. They go to South Bend to play Notre Dame as their fourth non-conference game, and then they close out the season back at home on Saturday, November the 29th. Against Boston College. So that is the full rundown of their schedule. 2 Friday games. I thought for some reason that Colgate game was the only one, but no, that North Carolina game is as well. So Friday, September the 12th against Colgate. Friday, October 31st against North Carolina. The other 10 are all Saturday games. And in terms of the schedule and kind of how it lays out with your breaks, you get 6 games to start off, 6 games to start off the season, 4 games in between, and then 3 to end it. So a 6-4-3 in terms of your
double play
bye weeks. Yeah, in terms of your bye weeks, and then obviously, I mean, if you're a person who travels around with the football team, I mean, this is awesome. This is freaking great. I mean, you're going to Atlanta twice. So if you didn't go the first time, you can go the second time. You can go the second time, you maybe went the first time. You're going to go to Death Valley. You can go check out Highland Park in SMU. You've got Miami, and then you've got Notre Dame. Like, dude, that might be the most badass road schedule in terms of, like, not wins, but in terms of, like, traveling around and having big places to go to. That might be one of the best road schedules in the country.
Every one of those games, not all of the white, but the ones you mentioned, Tennessee could be top 10, Clemson top 10, Miami top 10, and Notre Dame top 10.
SMU would be top 15.
And SMU will be in the mix. By that time of the year, depending on what they do, they could be in the mix. They could have 5 road games, and all 5 teams at some point could be in the top 10.
And there's not like a down road game. There's not like you go randomly to
like Florida State.
Yeah, to some bum like Florida State or something. Yeah. No, I mean, but no, like you don't just randomly go to Boston College or something. It's like it's all like teams. It's like good teams on paper.
They don't play Wake, who I think is going to struggle.
Yeah,
they
don't play NC State. They don't play Florida State. They don't play Wake.
Louisville.
They don't play Louisville. Those are some of the teams they'll miss out on.
Yeah. So they got a tough one, especially going to Clemson, to SMU, to Georgia Tech, to Miami, and to Notre Dame. That is a vicious road schedule.
Yeah, I keep thinking at Tennessee, but look,
and here's the thing, and you throw a game on any site against Tennessee, who's going to be really good next year, probably. I mean,
I wonder then maybe an SEC schedule where the algorithm goes against you. Will anybody else have that many teams that most likely are in the top 10 to 12 of the country on the schedule?
I mean, there's too many games. If we had like the ESPN or like one of the the recruiting site like level of like national like staff of like 5 interns running around to do that, we could probably run that through the mill and see who, like, we could compare all of the schedules together, right? Mm-hmm. But I have a very hard time believing that there's too many of the conferences we're going to go over that has a more stout road schedule, like pound for pound, is probably the way to put it. The pound for pound on paper road schedule. I highly doubt there's as many because I think everybody's probably got some like just rando, like I'm going to New Mexico or like theirs are all just like damn good games potentially. So yeah, that's a brutal schedule on paper. Now they're coming off of a 10-win season, so I don't think that they're too bothered. And I know that certainly a Fran Brown team is not going to be, intimidated very often, if at all, and they're going to take the challenge head on. But after 10 wins a year ago, and yes, like Kyle McCord's gone, and so they're losing some good players, but their over-under, the last I checked, was 5.5. So
I can see that.
That's a pretty significant drop from year one. That's barely making a bowl game, but when you look at the schedule, I think you can kind of see where they're coming from there, certainly with that outlook.
You see that look Fran Brown has on his face? It's a little glassy-eyed.
Mm-hmm. He's looking at
kind of looking up at the schedule going, shit.
Yeah.
Hey, wait a minute. But and only in his. But you give me his slang though.
What I would tell you is that he's a very confident person. That
he will. Yep.
He'll take it head on. He's got a really interesting staff. Do I think that they'll match last year's record this year? Based on the schedule, no, I don't. But if they go in and start winning some games, I also will be less than surprised because I think he's going to be really good. So.
Yeah, 10-3 won't have you in the playoff, but I mean, it would have you like in some serious consideration of if there's like a 16-team playoff, you go 10-3 with that schedule, people would be like, "That's a damn good 10-3 team right there."
Yeah,
or 10-2, whatever.
I mean, look,
it'd be 9-3. Excuse me, not regular season.
Yeah, quarterback wise, you're going to play Nico Amaliava, Cade Klubnik, Darian Mensah, Kevin Jennings, Eli Holstein, Haynes King, Carson Beck, and I'm guessing C.J. Carr at Notre Dame. And I'm not leaving out the other ones intentionally, and we don't really know who North Carolina is going to be right now. But, man, that's a who's who of good quarterbacks in the country.
One of the other things about the Boston colleges or whatever, Duke, though, you never know when it's going to be that year where they're up. You know, there's a team like that or two, and, of course, Pitt is solid too. All right.
But I will tell you about their roster. What's very impressive, and look, they've been in the transfer portal quite a bit over the couple years, but they have a lot of retention from last year to this year, which I think is a very good thing.
All right, is that it? Thank you. Who's next?
Virginia should be.
Virginia, the Cavaliers, will be on Monday when we have the next ACC team. And from Chris Cobb, why are they talking about Syracuse? Nobody cares. Chris, where have you been?
Syracuse does.
Well, first of all, we love Fran Brown, and the Orangemen is one of the great.
What would you have us talk about?
Yeah.
How can we? No, I mean legitimately. Yeah. What would you have us talk about in this segment instead? We take recommendations.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And obviously, Chris has been AWOL for a while. That we are going down various Power 4 conferences. Each one in alphabetical order. We're at the end, near the end of the ACC. We've done the Big 12, so thank you, Chris, for the comment. A question. All right, Garrett Ross and Andrew Valade, of course, at Emory Winter. Don't forget tonight, 10:30 on the local CW, 365 Sports tonight. But we're not done. Ari Temkin on Houston and the Final Four with Paul Catalina, the top
five.
Why
are you talking about that?
Well, it's a great question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why we would want to have anybody on to talk about the Final Four or Houston. And, of course, don't forget, we'll be back Monday, and we've got a couple of really nice guests to have with you, plus all the other days next week. This is 365 Sports.
Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott understand these are difficult and changing times we live in, but they know how important your financial investments are to you. So is your financial advisor staying in touch with you and helping you navigate today's financial climate? Invest with Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, who invest their time and experience back to you and your money. And like coaching athletes, investing money is about time, patience, and encouragement. Contact Ben Erlinson at 254-759-8533. Brad Wilson's location at 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, proud sponsors of 365 Sports. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody, the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
This is 365 Sports.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Back 365 Sports on your Friday. It is Final Four time, and we are joined by Ari Temkin, Big 12 Radio on TuneIn. We just saw Ari a couple weeks ago at Big 12 Pro Day talking football. But for basketball, Ari, I know there's a sentiment of like the old school teams that were original Big 12 teams like Kansas getting in. I know you're a Kansas guy. My wife is a Kansas grad. It would be great if they were in it. But in the expansion era, having one of your new teams already in the Final Four kind of shows you made a pretty badass decision, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on which way you look at it. I think the Kansas perspective, to a degree, it's like they, Houston, came into our house, they walked right into our family room and sat on the couch, put their feet up, in the Big 12. I mean, they have thoroughly and utterly dominated this conference from the jump for them. And yeah, so look, I mean, I think, individually, Kelvin Sampson's one of the best coaches in America. And does he need a national title to justify or to validate how good he is? No, but it always helps. And, more than anything, I think from a Big 12 perspective, like I know there's Baylor and Kansas that's had success in this conference, but yeah, it would mean a ton for Houston to win, especially in a year where the Big 12 wasn't viewed as being that good and the SEC was. So you're going to have to beat an SEC team after beating Duke in order to do that.
Yeah, that's for sure. But Ari, I've asked several people this week as we've talked about it. I think Houston and Duke is a really intriguing matchup because they both do things that can counteract the other, and they can. And I think this will be. I think that Houston can make this a slugfest, but that doesn't mean that they're just going to win it because Duke can play well within that kind of environment as well.
Yeah, I mean, look. Duke has the most efficient offense in the history of the Ken Palm era, right? So, I mean, just looking at Kelvin Sampson and Houston's road in order to win a title this year, they had to play a 8th ranked in Ken Palm Gonzaga team as an 8 seed in the second round. They were top 10 in Ken Palm. Then you have to play Purdue and Indianapolis, and now you've got the most efficient offense in the history of college basketball via Ken Palm against what is the number one defense, and a defense that, is kind of foundational for the success of Houston. So, yeah, I mean, look, they present a ton of problems. I maintain you kind of almost want to let Cooper Flagg get his. For me, it's Knipple, it's Malawach, it's Tyrese Proctor. Those are the guys that, that's where you really can get killed by this offense. But look, they do want to muck things up. They do trap. Houston has their staples on defense, but I think we're also going to see some new wrinkles for Houston defensively. And I'm intrigued by it, but this is also not the same Houston squad that we've kind of seen last few years. Like, this is a very, very high, upside offensive unit too. The best 3-point shooting team in the country, 42% 3-point shooters. So it's not just a defensive team.
No, that's true. I mean, when you've got Cryer, Sharp, and Uzan out there for you, at the guards, that kind of is the difference. And I think for LJ Cryer, who I've pretty much seen play almost every game of his career, he's I think in the entire tournament, he's the guy I'm most impressed of freshman to now, because believe me, he did not
want to play defense when he was here. Like, and look, in that national championship run in 21, he was a very key part of it. He was a dead-eye scorer off the bench and all of those things, but they had such good defenders. It didn't matter that he was only 80% into getting in the way of his guy, right? But now, you're going to play for Kelvin Sampson, you're going to play D, and he works really well within that. And then it kind of allows him what Scott Drew told him all along. Like, if you're good on defense, it's going to make your offense better because it's going to create wild opportunities for you.
Well, and look, I mean, defending and playing both ways at Houston is not a non-negotiable. Anybody that comes in there is going to have to defend, and they're going to have to play at a high level. And it's high intensity, it's intensive practices. Like, they practiced before Big 12 media days. I mean, that's how intensive these practices are. So, the fact that they don't really lose much in the portal seemingly every year is kind of, I wouldn't say a miracle, but it shows you a ton about, they demand a lot, they expect a lot, but obviously there's a payoff there that's worth it for these guys. And it's sort of amazing in some ways. They're a throwback in an era of college sports where we're complaining about types of kids that exist, and do they want to work hard, and are they just gonna, as soon as the moment of adversity strikes, they're gonna jump and go somewhere else? I mean, Houston's the great antidote to that, right? I mean, Houston's the great program that sort of works as the antithesis of how people view this modern era of college athletics and college basketball. And then at the same time, they're a high level 3-point shooting team, so they kind of marry the old with the new in a sense.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I wonder how this happens. Now, if you're a good player and you get in the portal, somebody's going to give you money to come and play for them. I mean, that that's not a problem. But I do wonder if you're a coach and a guy leaves Kelvin Sampson's program. And not because maybe not because he's blocked, because he might have played a lot. He might have just been the sixth man. But if you've got a double-digit scorer that would leave a coach like Kelvin Sampson, if I'm a coach that would be considering him, I'm like, well, I need all the details of this, because if you don't want to play for Kelvin Sampson, it might tell me you are not really a worker.
Yeah, no, but the thing is, you don't get those guys don't leave.
Yeah, because Kelvin treats them so, I know he is an absolute grind, but I've not talked to one single player that says it's just that that's for show. There's a lot of coaches that have that, you're going to work hard and they don't care on the back end. He treats those guys really professionally and well, and cares about them in a way that a lot of guys who grind like that sometimes are incapable of doing.
Yeah, and I think it's the family piece. And look, I mean, it's both in a literal and a figurative sense. I mean, his family is literally a part of the program. His daughter is the head of basketball operations, and his son is the assistant coach. So, I mean, it is a family affair, but they treat the team like a family. And I mean, they're invited to Kelvin and the Sampsons' house, and I mean, they have meals together. So and that goes back to when Kellen was a kid and he wanted to read to his kids every night. And basically his wife suggested, why don't you have the team come do preparations here instead of going to the facility? And that's, that was really what created this family type atmosphere. So, you look at any type of leadership and study any type of leadership when it comes to coaching or any other type of leadership. And one of the most important components of leadership is the people underneath you that you're purported to lead. They have to buy in, and they've got to buy into your vision. And that starts with you as a leader looking at them as more than just a worker, as a multifaceted human being with feelings and emotions. And when you play to that, and the family piece plays to that, that's how leadership works. If you care about a person, then that person will be more willing to be led by you.
Yeah, that's for sure. Ari, looking at this game individually, look, I think Jawan Roberts is going to be a big key here to, especially with Malawach down there, creating some problems. But is this going to come down to, can Joseph Tugler stay out of foul trouble to deal with this, to help out with all the size that Duke is going to throw at you?
So it's interesting because you say Tugler. I've heard other people say Roberts. I mean, foul trouble could impact this game. There's no question about it. But I almost look at Duke as saying that's more of a concern if I'm Duke. And Malawach is the guy. If I'm Kelvin Sampson, I am going after Malowach early in this game. I want to get the ball. I want to isolate him. I want Roberts to touch the ball on the wing and try to take him off the dribble. I'm trying to get him into foul trouble. Like Houston does not want to win and try to win without Juwan Roberts. I'm not trying to say that, but Houston has won without Juwan Roberts. I mean, look at the game in the Elite Eight. He missed virtually the entire game. He missed time due to injury, and they've still won games. Like Houston has shown an ability to win even when they're not playing their best or have all their best players available. Another part to the foul piece is, Houston is 322nd in free throw attempts per game, and they're also in the 200s in free throw defense. So in the Elite Eight and Sweet 16, they both against both opponents, they were out free throw shot attempted. So I think that's big too in terms of just foul trouble and the foul, how this game is being officiated overall. I mean, Houston is a physical team. They want to play with physicality, especially on the defensive end. If officials don't let them play at that style, call a lot of fouls, that starts to add up. Suddenly Duke's at the free throw line a ton. Houston doesn't get to the free throw line a ton and foul trouble. So yeah, I mean, I think fouls are probably the game within the game here in this, and not just for any specific player, but foul shooting too.
Well, Houston's going to find out how much of a blue blood they might be, because the whistles for Duke classically don't come when you want them. I mean, they might come, but you know, that's how it is. And look, there's no grand conspiracy here. The teams that have been great for a long time get the benefit of the doubt because they've been great for a long time and they're consistently great. So you get you earn that. You earn that. So, right. But yeah, it's tough. Like every time I hear somebody complain about whistles against Duke, I'm like, congratulations, you are everybody else. Like you breathe oxygen. So it's
Duke getting whistles. What? Why would that happen?
Oh my gosh! Alert the media. Get the president on the phone. This must be stopped. Big 12 wise, this is Brett Yormark, I heard him say the other day that he did feel that because of the SEC, because it was such a deep league, but they did get one team for sure. Texas should not have been in the tournament. If you're going to fire your coach the next day, you're not a tournament team. You're not. Oklahoma didn't put two halves of the season together. I get that they had these great Ken Palm juicy wins, but something has to be said about when they're in the Ken Palm juicy conference, they had some Ken Palm juicy losses too. So even still, they got all the teams in. What did you think about what he said, kind of saying hey, this was a tougher league this year than most people realize, and maybe put us on the back burner a little bit. And when you have to play Houston and Texas Tech and Iowa State and Baylor and Kansas and, a Kansas State team that had struggles in the beginning, but in the middle of the season was as good as anybody for a stretch and had talent. Even the bad teams were not that bad all year long. If Colorado can haul off and beat teams, then you've got a scary conference.
Yeah, and look, I mean, obviously the narrative about the SEC being as strong as it's been, and relative to the Big 12, I don't know what that means for the hierarchy. At the end of the day, I always thought that Houston was severely underrated. I'm not sure that people paid attention much to what they did this year. And obviously we know that defensively they're so good, but it's been the offense that's been so different. I mean, Kansas thoroughly and utterly has dominated the Big 12 in its entire existence. They never won 22 of 23 Big 12 games.
No.
So what Houston has done this year is unprecedented. And I think that's still underrated them. In terms of the conference overall, look, they got two teams, the Elite Eight. They got one team in the Final Four with a really good shot if Texas Tech can close that game out to get two teams to the Final Four. I would say this season was an overwhelming success for a conference that last year did not send anybody to the Elite Eight. Mm-hmm. So, year in and year out, this conference is legit. But it's funny because Houston won 22 of 23 games. They did not lose a game on the road of this conference. And so I've asked both Kellen and Kelvin, isn't this league supposed to be good? Then how are you dominating it so utterly and thoroughly?
Yeah, no, it is wild. And the biggest prediction I think I've gotten wrong with Houston coming into this league was I thought they would be this good as far as they're going to be an Elite Eight team, a Final Four team. They're going to have those teams. Their record just won't look as good because of the games they're playing. And no, it looks the same as it was in the American. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it And it's a pretty good example of why, we can look at the mid-major level and think the other conferences are so much better, and maybe they're not. Maybe they're a little bit closer than we expect, especially basketball. Or maybe Houston's just that good.
Yeah. Maybe they are. Yeah, that's true. I mean, this is an all-timer team in the Big 12, and I hope they win it so they can have that to say yeah, this was that, and they don't. They've run up against one good team for sure and two other great teams. Your thoughts on the entire Final Four? We've got all 4 1 seeds now. In one regard, that's kind of boring by March Madness standards, but on the other side, if we get a boring game in either one of these, it's because there's injuries or foul trouble or something, because these are the 4 best teams in the country and really have been, for the last 2.5 months or so.
Well, yeah. And the reason I think a lot of people thought that we could have this 4 1 seeds in the Final Four was just how dominant those 4 were. I mean, it wasn't, this is not a huge surprise. I think a lot of people did see this coming. And so number one, there's a lot of pride on the line here for the Big 12 from the standpoint of, the last non-Big 12 Big East team to win a national championship was when Virginia did it in 2019. And then even the year before that, in 2018, Villanova won it. So it's basically been Big East or Big 12 every year. The SEC hasn't won a title since 2012. So they're trying to change that. And the Big 10 hasn't won a championship since 2001, and they obviously will go another year without winning it, without having a team in the Final Four. I agree with you. I think these are going to be elite games, elite matchups. They're really hard to predict. I think most people think Duke or Florida is going to win. And it's been kind of a boring tournament from that standpoint. I get why people complain about the chalk that we've seen, and even further than that, Paul, I think it's been 16 straight wins by favorites in this tournament straight up. There were no, there were no upsets even from a point spread standpoint in the Elite Eight or Sweet 16.
There's only been 3 buzzer beaters the entire tournament.
So it's been a tournament of chalk.
Yeah.
And what that says long term, everybody wants to make these long-term proclamations. Let's let this play out and see. I'm not ready to say that yet, but yeah, I get the sentiment of where are the upsets. This tournament has been the exact opposite of it. It's funny. Every other tournament has followed specific guidelines and rules about upsets. This year's been completely different. Everybody's upset about it.
Yeah, I'll 1 year does not make a trend, because all it takes is next year for teams, some of these teams that might have a lot of guys back or get fat and happy, after a run, and then all of a sudden we've got a 1 seed that loses in the round of 32. It will happen. It's only happened one other time before, in 2008. If you want to take a moment of silence and put your hand over your heart, I understand that was a that was a great moment. Or you may not, because of the cardiac arrest you went into that day. But it's only happened one other time in 2008. So, to say it's just going to happen all the time now, that's premature. It's this tournament is different every single year in one regard or another. So this is what's different about this one. What's different about 2026 will be a whole new thing that we may not have even thought of.
Yeah, no, well said.
Yeah. Okay. House settlement comes on Monday. Do you think it will be ratified? And if it's not ratified, how much longer do you think that we can go in the current system before people just lose their minds?
Yeah, and I don't know if people are going to not lose their minds even when this is ratified. There's so many other components to it. This only really addresses the revenue share and not any of the endorsement money moving forward, Paul. So, I think if there's any questions that the judge has here, it would be specific to the endorsement side of things. And, has that been satisfactory? They have this Deloitte clearinghouse that apparently will figure out if deals are true market value. That's a joke. There's just no way that holds up in court. But that wasn't for
market value is what I tell you it is.
Right. Yeah, totally.
So to me, if I'm Paul Catalina and I want if I have $1 billion and I want to pay the FSU football team whatever I want, it's value to Paul Catalina Industries. You can't tell me what the market value is.
Right. So that will never hold up in court. And so, I think it's ratified so long as, again, the language around endorsement deals is satisfactory to the judge in this case. But again, this is a long road, anybody that thinks like this is the fix that will eternally fix the entire system is going to be sorely mistaken. It's going to take a long time. And I do believe eventually, like, the only path to really creating guidelines for this is through collective bargaining, which is through, union uniformity. And like, that's the only way we're going to get this. Otherwise, the NCAA is going to keep taking L's in the court of law as they have, because the Supreme Court already ruled unanimously that they're in a monopoly.
Yeah, the Supreme Court, who always gets along and agrees on everything.
Right. Every vote is unanimous.
Every vote is unanimous in the Supreme Court. Ari Temkin, Vince Hill Radio on TuneIn. Listen to him. It's a great show that they do a great job. Always love having Ari on the show. After this, my top 5. This is 365 Sports.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Ticket Club. Forget the fees, just big savings. Click the link in the description to find out more.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5. It's Friday. It's the Final Four weekend. Oh, my gosh. Couldn't be happier. Let's jump into some SEC off-season questions. Number 5, and of course, thanks to our sponsor, Ticket Club, is Arkansas back? They were an underachieving 10 seed based on the amount of money that the chicken nugget people paid for that Arkansas roster, but ultimately made a very, very deep run before Texas Tech knocked them out in the Sweet 16. And a thrilling game, though it was, they've got a lot of potential moving forward, and a lot of people had thought the game had perhaps passed John Calipari by, me chief among them. I was absolutely one of those guys who thought the game had passed him by. He just needed a refresh. Now, is he innovative or anything like that? No, probably not. He just needed a refresh. It's going to be old school Calipari. He's going to be the dude. And they've got players coming, and they've got the backing. It should be interesting to see if they are back to maybe even the Nolan Richardson days, which would be exciting for everybody in Hogtown. Number 4, can Mark Pope continue the climb at Kentucky? This is a very, very weird picture here. And I didn't realize it until I just started this, that he is in his Kentucky uniform while he's at BYU cheering for Kentucky. But Mark Pope's that kind of guy. He's out there. He's enthusiastic. Year 1, the Calipari, Mark Pope, Rick Pitino, like all these moves that kind of fell into place. Scott Drew staying put, BYU hiring Kevin Young, all worked out. There's buzz about all of them, all over the place and going to lots of different spots. It all worked out and worked out well for all parties involved. So how does Mark Pope build on this season? How does he, have a year like Auburn or Florida and get to the Final Four? Just keep building on that talent and the momentum. But it's a year-to-year proposition in college basketball right now. What can you retain? What can you get? How can you build on the last year? And retention is almost, if not more important for your key players than acquisitions. Number 3, does A&M have any basketball life? Reports today that they'd reached out to Grant McCaslin, and he said no. And my God in heaven, why would he? Texas Tech has had way more basketball success. They're way more a basketball positive school, if you want to use that term. And money-wise, as far as what he's getting paid, what he's being backed, all probably about the same. Even though A&M has big SEC money, everybody in Texas got oil, pal. So, it's not a good thing right now. As of this taping, A&M does not currently have a basketball coach. Could that happen after the weekend? You would think so. But no matter who it is, do they have enough juice in that program to bring it to life? Or will they be perpetually cursed, as they seemingly are in football and baseball as well, to just be good enough but not great? Number 2, can Porter Moser bring swagger back to the Sooners? Early season, holy cow, looked like he had his juice back. It looked like he had brought that brilliant coaching that he had at Loyola to Oklahoma. Then they got into the conference season, did not play well in the conference, lost a ton of games. I personally did not think they should have been in the tournament, but the early part of their season shows that they had some juice. They did not carry it through the season. How do they do that? Can he put a first half and a second half together and make that team great? We'll see. That's a huge question, but he's a really good coach and has a really good history. So we'll see, but a tough league in the SEC. And number one, Sean Miller, with these rules and this money at Texas, this could be dangerous. And this could be the first time that the Longhorns have made a basketball decision outside of Chris Beard. Admittedly, that was a really good one, but we see what happened after that. But that is basketball first without worrying about, do you pull from football? Do you pull for something else? This was a basketball decision. Sean Miller has a lot of skins on the wall at Arizona. Yes, he petered out, but he did really well at Xavier in both of his stretches there. And the rules that kind of got him sideways when he was at Arizona are all legal now. You can pay a DeAndre Ayton $500,000. In fact, that's a damn bargain nowadays for a player of that caliber. So you have that kind of money, that kind of backing, and this kind of coach. That is going to be something to watch down in Austin. This is the top 5. Have a great weekend, everybody.